Hello, everyone, and welcome into our latest live broadcast. It's Sunday, the 14th of June, 2026. My name is CareyHolzman, and thank you guys for tuning in. Today, we've got a mini PC to review. This is the last one that we have in inventory or in our queue, and this is the AOOSTAR. Oh, what do we call this one? They always have very strange naming conventions over there. They change model name and number. I don't think two are alike, but this is called a Gem12 MAX. So I guess they had a series of Gem12s. This is the Max version. This came out last year. And if you've been watching mini PC reviews, you probably saw a lot of reviews all done within the same basic 10 days. And then no one ever spoke about it again. This is one of the most frustrating things that I think is a consequence of YouTube content creation, is that when companies are sending out free units, then they send them out to everybody at the same time, and then depending on that person's schedule, it gets released all within 10 days of each other, and they never revisit it, they never talk about it again, and it's because of the way that business model works. As long as they keep getting sent free stuff, they'll review it as soon as they get it, as soon as they're available to, along with every single other content creator on this platform, almost with no exception. I mean, there's got to be an exception out there somewhere, but if you find it, let me know. So I'm looking for good deals on PCs that I think might be something worth considering buying for you guys, also for my own business. And after a machine is a year old, it certainly financially typically becomes much more appealing as it reduces value over time, right? Its initial price will be at its highest in most cases. And then as time goes on, and especially with the culture of YouTube, the audience, if they're not thinking for themselves, if they're just listening to people on YouTube, then they themselves don't think about, what about that other machine I saw last year? What's the status on that? And you know how I know that? Because no one ever asks in the comments. Never. Well, I'll say very rarely. I don't want to say never. But very rarely does anybody follow up and say, hey, remember that, AOOSTAR, whatever it is, or that NAS, or that router? It's just like it's momentary for the day. It's like a distraction, and it's forgotten about the next day. I don't know. It doesn't seem right to me because the product is still the same, right? If it was worth talking about last year, it may be even worth more to talk about it today because it may be a better value than it was last year. Maybe. And the only way we can know that is to go back and revisit it. So in this case, we're not revisiting anything. We were not a part of the sheep that all reviewed it at the same time. We're not a part of the sheep who now don't acknowledge its existence anymore after that one video of attention. It's sort of like ADD or ADHD, where people just can't stay focused. And they can't find any balance. They're just constantly, give me new, give me new, give me new, give me new. And all the leftovers in the refrigerator go moldy and have to be thrown out. I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me, so we don't do that. In fact, quite frankly, if other people on YouTube did do this, I wouldn't feel the need to do it. So it works out in my benefit, but I want to make you aware of the content you're watching and how much of it is always so similar and why. And why we're different. And it's because of our members. It's because of the generosity of the support that we get that enables us to be independent. And we don't have to act like sheep, and we don't have to let companies control our content so that we're releasing the same content as other content creators around the same time because we all got it for free based on the timing that the company dictated they would send it all to us at the same time. So I don't want to be a part of that. I find it like feeding cattle. I would rather eat what I want when I want than just throw some slop in a trough and we all eat when the farmer decides to fill the trough. That's just me. That's the way I see it. I'm very independent, and I don't like to follow along with trends. I'd rather be the one who creates them. Not that I'm creating any, but regardless of that, this is the kind of content I want to see on YouTube. And since I can't find it, I'm making it. So I wouldn't be able to make it without our members, without our friends, and a shout out and a thank you to everybody in green and all of our supporters for making these videos possible. This computer was purchased with money that comes from our members. AOOSTAR has not sent us anything in a long, long time. And there's one product they make that we reviewed that I don't recommend. It was a M.2 Pro S. I think that was AOOSTAR, wasn't it? But we've been happy with, you know, all the other AOOSTAR products. That's why I keep going back and buying them. I think they may be one of the best bargains for a mini PC today. I wouldn't hesitate to buy from them. Their support, you know, here's another thing. Nobody talks about their support. Nobody talks about driver availability. Nobody talks about any difficulties in reinstalling Windows. It just isn't done. And yet that is a common reality of owning a computer, and yet why it is not even so much as mentioned. You should be aware of what they're not telling you. And then if you're okay with it, I'm okay with it. But I think that not only is the content creator not thinking of it, neither are the viewers. Nobody's thinking independently to say, is this reviewer going to cover the support? What's it like? Is this reviewer going to cover how to reinstall Windows? They usually cover nonsense, in my opinion. Like, how many frames per second does it get in some random game? Or subjectively, how loud is it? You know, it depends on the room it's in. It depends on how sensitive you are. It's all very subjective. But support is not subjective. Support is either there or it's not there. It's either good support, bad support, or no support. So when we reached out to AOOSTAR, we got a response very quickly, and it was a very well-written response. It was very, you know, there wasn't a delay, there wasn't an excuse, and it was very helpful and friendly. And I can't say that for a lot of these Asian mini manufacturers that, you know, they'll sit there and say they've got a warranty, but then if you try and email for any warranty issues, you don't get any response. That's what happened to us with ADreamer. They don't respond. They just ghost. So they claim to have a warranty. They claim to have 24/7 support, but when you actually test it, you're ghosted. So is it just me? Do you guys not care about support? I mean, I assume the reason you're here is you do, but I'm trying to figure out why these content creators aren't getting comments from their viewers going, what about the drivers? What about the support? What about the warranty? Do you have to ship it outside of the country? Stuff like that. They're almost never addressed, those subjects. It's just, look how fast it is, look how cheap it is, look how quiet it is. Here's how we open it up and discuss it, and everything's all usually very limited in that vision, very, very myopic, as if that's all there is to owning a mini PC. And I don't get it. I don't get why the viewers aren't questioning the content creators going, why didn't you talk about the warranty? Why didn't you talk about the support? Why didn't you talk about driver availability? If this has to be sent in for warranty, is this something that we ship outside of the country? Because you're going to be without it for a while and it's expensive to ship. Or do you ship it within the US? If you don't know this before you buy it, if I were you, I'd find out. I'm just saying, if you have your 30-day return period if you buy it from Amazon. But after that, it doesn't matter what the manufacturer says with regards to warranty or support until you test it. If you wait until and if you need it and you find out it's not there and you've been lied to, how are you going to feel about that? And I don't want to be the content creator that's an accomplice to that kind of manipulation or deception. I wouldn't do that to my own customers, or I would not have a business anymore. So that's why I'm so passionate about it. In fact, when I tell you guys about the Windows and Office license keys from our friends at VIP-URCDKEys, those are the keys I buy. That's the price I pay. Most content creators will not, well, I wouldn't say content creators, most actual people that run a business would not tell you where they're getting their inventory from. Because why would they? They would essentially be telling you how to circumvent them and bypass them. That's not good business sense. But regardless of their reasons why they do that, it's very common. And very uncommonly, very, very rare, somebody will be open and transparent about it. And then hopefully the reason you're buying from them still is for the service. Because you like them, you want to support what they're doing. Because if you circumvent them, then the customers are the ones causing this problem. If somebody goes out of business because they're being honest with their customers, and the customers won't support that, you know, they'll work around them, then that person probably isn't going to be around much longer in that line of work. That's all. So I understand why that's done, why it's typically hidden away, but I don't believe in it. So when I buy my keys for Windows or Office, I buy it from VIP-URCDKEYs, and here's how I do it. Underneath every video, and many of you have seen this clip before, but I'm going to keep showing it for our new viewers. Underneath a video, so here's a video we did a couple months ago. When you scroll down a little bit, it shows this little box, this first box, and it says more right under there. Click that more button, because that's where all the links are for everything we're talking about in the video, whether it's a mini PC or whatever. And then further down, you'll see the links for the Windows and Office keys that I keep talking about. They're running a special right now, and I think today is the last day that they're offering Office 2024 for $13. So if you're interested, this is the last day you have to take advantage of it. At least that's my understanding. And when I go to click the Buy Now button, I have to sign in with my account. Account is free to create. It's just a way that they can send a receipt, a product code, and a download link to you securely. They're not harvesting your email address. Anyway, if you put the coupon code CAREY, C-A-R-E-Y, right down in that little box, you'll see 25% come off of that price. That's how I buy it. That's the price I pay. Then submit your order and choose how you want to pay for it, just like you would anything else you buy online. It's no different. Within about 2 minutes, you're going to get an email. And it doesn't matter rain or shine, day or night, weekend or holiday. Within about 2 minutes, you'll receive an email that tells you what your product key is and instructions for how to download if you don't already have Office or if you don't already have Windows, because I usually download them directly from Microsoft personally. But I do this for a living. It makes sense for me to have that in hand. If you're doing this once and you haven't done it for years, you probably don't have the installer. So they provide the link for that, and it does come from Microsoft. And then they also provide the product key. They also provide 6 months of free support after the sale. So if anything isn't working the way it's supposed to, you just reach out to them and they'll help you. If they won't help you, I will. And the thing is I don't get paid to help, to do their support, to help them. So if I end up getting emails over and over from viewers saying this didn't work, or this part of this isn't working the way I expect, I'm going to stop promoting any company that does that to my viewers, right? Because I couldn't do that to my customers. So they are VIP-URCDKEYs. You can understand how important it is for them to take care of you guys, because otherwise we won't promote them here and they won't get any more sales from the audience reach that we have worldwide. So they have, even if they, whether or not they want to do that, all right, I'd like to assume they want to stand behind what they sell, but even if they don't, if they want to stay in business, right, then they don't have a choice. And the reason why I can continue to promote them is they continue to resolve any problems without getting me involved. Anytime I need to get involved is so rare that it's a pleasure and an honor for me to recommend them to you wholeheartedly, that, you know, this is not a scam, you're not going to get ripped off, and I personally guarantee it. Now, that being said, I don't make any commissions on this, okay? So if you guys buy or you don't buy, I don't make any more or less money, just so you know. This is where I buy my keys. You take that information, you do with it what you want. That Office 2024, if they extend the sale, I don't know, but from what they told me, today is the last day if you want to take advantage of that $13 price for Office 2024. So a shout out and a thank you to the folks at VIP-URCDKEYs for supporting us here. And hopefully we'll save you guys some headaches. It's amazing the amount of time people will trade for their money. I've seen people reach out to us for help for keys they bought on eBay and Etsy, and they got worked over. And the only solution is you chalk it up as the cost of a lesson learned, because there's usually no recourse, nothing. You could report to your credit card company, I guess, but depending on your credit card company, it could go either way. But I've seen people want to save $2.50 and then turn around and spend the next 4 or 5 days trying to get things sorted out. And it's your time if you want to do that. But you won't have that problem if you buy from VIP-URCDKEYs, because you could always just reach out to me. That's why they're incentivized, if they weren't already, okay, just as a double whammy to make sure that customers are happy and they're going to recommend and refer them and come back and buy again. So with that, as I mentioned today, we've got this AOOSTAR that I saw. I was looking on Amazon, just scrolling, looking for anything that has a potential to sell to customers, to be recommended. If I don't think I'm going to recommend it, I'm not going to buy it. And just because I buy it, I don't know if I'm going to recommend it until I actually test it in real life. Most of the time, what we're buying and evaluating that we believe is a recommended, most of the time I'm right. I'd say 80% of the time, yeah, it's exactly what it appears to be. And 20% of the time, we find little details that the marketing left out, things that help explain why the price was so low. And then based on that, not such a good deal. If we find out the CPU that was installed came out 6 years ago, like on that M.2 Pro S mini PC, those parts came out 6 years ago. Even though it's a new computer, it's got old parts in it. They're new, but I'm gonna have to find a new way to phrase this, but they were introduced to the market in 2020. As you can imagine, by today's standards, they don't really stand on their own very well compared to a newer CPU that came out in the last 6 years. The CPUs get better by about 10% every year. So after 6 years, you've got a difference of 60%. So unless it's 60% cheaper, and you're okay with only having a 4-year lifespan before the computer is traditionally just not capable of having the security requirements for new versions of operating systems, you'll have to replace it. You are getting what you pay for, and if you want to just keep buying over and over again, that's your freedom and choice to do that. But when I sell a system to a customer, I don't go, hey, the parts in this are 6 years old, right? I wouldn't say that. I would only say that if I was discouraging them from buying it. I'd say, well, if you buy this, I know the price looks good, those parts are 6 years old inside. And that means the lifespan, the usable lifespan of the unit may be limited to about 4 or 5 years as security requirements keep getting more and more extreme. The internet has millions of scammers. It used to be thousands, and then it went to hundreds of thousands, and now we're into the millions of scammers. Microsoft just released 200 new patches this month and 157, I think, last month because of the scammers. Chrome gets updated about once a week now with about 100 on average fixes due to the scammers. And it'll be the same with Chrome next week and the week after that, or every 2 weeks. And then Microsoft every month. It's because of scammers. If you're wondering why those updates are so annoying, it's because of other people on the internet trying to attack you. And Windows is the most popular platform. So you go after the biggest target of victims you can get. And so when they come up with some clever new way of tricking people or infecting systems, Microsoft responds and patches it. And people go, oh, the patch broke my system. And again, this is ignorance in most cases. Somebody's done something to their computer that they weren't unaware of, and they want to blame Microsoft for it. In the meantime, many of them don't understand computers well enough. So their conclusion is, I just won't put updates in anymore. And then all that does is leave the door open for the hackers, and the hackers love it when you do that. So I'm just here to make sure people have all the information to make the decision that's right for them and accept the responsibilities of their decisions, right? To say, okay, I did this to myself. Don't be mad at Microsoft because you made a bad decision. Don't be mad at the scammers because you left the door open for them. So let's call the blame where it is. The actual number of bad updates, when it happens, it might happen once every year or two. But if you don't believe me, we have all these live videos going back for many, many years where I do the updates live on camera. And you've never once seen an update cause a problem. Never. Go look through my archive. Show me when it's ever happened. But yet, if you believe the internet, it's happening all the time on every update, which is preposterous. But you choose to believe whatever if you have a bias and you don't like Microsoft, you're going to choose to believe the minority of loud people online who won't take responsibility. And that's okay, you're allowed to. But as a professional technician, if you were to hire me, my goal is to figure out if you're having a computer problem or if you're the problem. Because a lot of times, and people don't want to hear this, a lot of times people are creating their own problems and they're pointing the finger at somebody else's, issue. It's somebody else caused this, not me. And I don't want them to keep going around in circles. I don't want them to keep having these same problems, because if they keep exercising the same thought patterns and the same false conclusions, they're just going to have to keep calling me back. I don't want that. They don't want that. So when I tell them you need to stop doing this, they don't want that either. They want to do whatever they want without consequences. Well, if you're 6 years old, I understand. But if you're an adult, that's shameful behavior. You should appreciate, in my opinion, anybody enlightening you to help improve your experience if you're calling for help. And if the problem is resulting in you're effectively abusing it, you're abusing the machine, then I want to let you know, because I have to. If you hired me to fix the problem and the problem is you, I will find a way to phrase that. But no matter how I say it, some people are instantly offended by it. And in that case, find another tech, because I'm not a psychologist. And if I see an end user as a problem user and they refuse to accept responsibility despite my way to make it direct but gentle, that if they continue this behavior, they're just going to have problems. It's never going to end. And if they get offended by that, you know what? I hope you can find someone who can help you. It's no longer my problem. I don't have the bandwidth to babysit. And of course that's offensive, but it's offensive to me to tell me I'm not babysitting you. You know what I mean? If you stop doing this, you won't have to call me. And if I tell you that and you get offended by it, then you're asking me to babysit you. That offends you too. Well, of course it does. Anybody that won't accept responsibility will take offense. When you start accepting responsibility, you'll say thank you. But that's part of our society today, and it wasn't this way back in the day. When people had computers in the 80s and the early 90s, this wasn't the way it worked. So we're seeing a cultural shift in the behavior of people. And that's why if you want to be a computer technician and have a very satisfying job, your best bet is to work for a company, or to have companies, like in my case as a managed service provider. I deal with a lot of lawyers, doctors' offices, real estate agents, accountants. There's a lot of small businesses, they have like a dozen employees or less. And if you're just working for yourself, you can handle that. If you have bigger aspirations and you want to run a big, you want to have your own employees, obviously you need to have more customers, or you need to have bigger customers. So one company could keep you busy 40 hours a week. One company could keep you and 4 other people that you've employed busy 40 hours a week, depending on how big and complex the network is and how big the company is. And, I didn't want that. I didn't want all of my eggs in one basket. Something I learned growing up as a Gen X is to have multiple income sources and not trust any one thing. And sometimes I've had customers who start getting more needy. And I have to have the conversation with them that I can't give them any more time. I had one particular customer that I was giving them more time, and then they wanted more time. And I gave them more time and they wanted more time. And I said, I can't, that's it, that's all I've got. They said, what do you mean that's it? What are we paying you for? And I said, well, I'm self-employed. I have other customers. I can't ignore them. I'm not full-time. Maybe you should consider hiring somebody full-time. I think you've outgrown the services I offer. And they took offense to that. Sorry, I can't change how many hours are in a day. And the problem is, if I said okay, then I'd be letting go of all these other part-time jobs that I have. So if all I'm doing is working for them, they can fire me, they can dictate how much I pay. I've lost all my leverage. I'm now at their mercy. And I don't want to be put in that position. but it's painted as, will you help us? We want you more than we're getting you. And if you agree to that and you sacrifice all your other work out here, anything happens to them, they go out of business, whatever, you'll go out of business right behind them. So I don't want any of my customers to have the ability to put me out of business. So I have lots of customers in a variety of different fields. That keeps me on my toes in lots of different industries. And, you know, when a company outgrows me, you know, that does happen. Congratulations, you've outgrown me. You know, it's time for you to hire somebody that's going to be more full-time and, you know, spend 3 to 5 times more money for it, because my low prices are based on convenience. And when you stop being convenient, the table flips the other way, where now it's the service company treating you at their convenience instead of the other way around. And it's a hard lesson for some companies to learn, but I've learned this the hard way. Try to just have as many baskets as possible. And like I said, it keeps it interesting for me. And if any one client goes out of business or decides they want to go a different direction, whatever the case may be, they get bought out by another company, I'm not out looking for another job. I just lost one egg in one basket, so what? I don't want to give up that autonomy, that independence. And when they ask me to, I just explain it to them. This is my business model. Very open and transparent about it. And rarely does that go over well. You know, they'll say, well, we don't want to get rid of you. We like you. So I appreciate that. Thank you. But I have other clients. I'm self-employed. I don't have any employees. And if I were to hire one, what's to stop them from, let's say I hire somebody specifically to help out this client that needs full-time help. So I hire and train somebody. Now there's 2 of us at the client instead of me, which is costing me more money. So I can get that employee trained. And then what happens if they like that employee better than they like me and say, hey, why don't you come over here and have a little talk with us? What would you think about working for us directly and don't work for Carey anymore? I get screwed. So I can't stop that from happening, but I can not engage in that activity. So in some ways, I hold myself back from opportunity because I'm very cynical about, well, just knowing the way people are. The company wants to pay less, the employee wants to make more, and if they can use me, both of them, to get to that point, even if they don't realize it at the time, it's like a wheel that keeps going around, and I keep seeing it. It's happened before, it'll happen again. And long after I'm out of business, you know, if I retire or whatever, that wheel's going to keep turning, and people are going to continue to learn depending on which side of the business they're on. So I don't participate in that. It's off the table for me because I don't have I don't have the bandwidth financially or in my investment of my time to just turn around and let other people profit from that and abandon me. So these are tough business decisions. They're not something I like doing. It's not a position I like to be placed in. But first and foremost, I have to protect my business because I need to protect my other customers. If anything happens to my business, I just screwed all of my customers because I allowed one customer to manipulate me, whether that's through empathy or financially. It's a question of, okay, that's great today, but what's it going to be like 6 months from now? So I'm always considering stuff like that. And while we have this time right now in this industry where everything is really slowed down, this has been a great opportunity for me to be able to reach out and look at some of these mid-priced or low-priced mini PCs to see what I might offer to my clients. Because if I would offer it to my client, it's definitely something I would offer to you. But I don't know until I evaluate it. So as I mentioned, that AOOSTAR M.2 Pro S, I think that's what it was AOOSTAR. It falls short of expectations, and it seems like a good price, but when you realize why, you may not want it anymore. I certainly wouldn't sell it or recommend it. But all the other AOOSTARs we've seen, absolutely, they've been exactly what they appear to be, and I would recommend them. They've got good support, and they seem to have really good features for the money. So while I was on Amazon and I was looking around for something to buy, I saw this. This is the, what did I say it was? The Gem12 Max. And let me show you the website for it, because if we come over here to my window capture, right there, this is AOOSTAR's website. And they offer this a couple different ways. This is an 8745HS AMD-based computer. It's 8 cores, 16 threads, and can turbo up to 5.1 gigahertz, right? That's really, really good. Finding a computer that can rank up higher than 5.1 is probably going to be a lot more money. There are 2 DDR5 slots, and the Asians continue to not understand what the word ROM means. This is frustrating when the manufacturers can't even name their own technology properly. A ROM, like a CD-ROM, is something you write once, and something like a CD, read-only memory. An NVMe drive is storage. An SSD is storage. It is not ROM. It is readable and writable. ROM is only readable. That's what the R stands for in ROM. And yet they just copy and paste each other without any knowledge or understanding of the word. This, I'm not going to hold too much against AOOSTAR, but I do lose a little respect that they're that ignorant. They're the manufacturer, and even they don't know what to call their own parts. Now, it could be because English is not commonly spoken, maybe a second language, and they don't know that what they're writing here is improper. Because if they knew it and they were doing it anyway, that wouldn't make any sense. This should say RAM and SSD. That's what it should say. And if this was 1995 and we were talking about a CD-ROM, then if this thing had a CD-ROM, then that would be proper language. But it isn't. And the AOOSTAR, along with, I don't know, 3 dozen other mini manufacturers, I think what they're doing is they're copying and pasting, and they don't understand. They think this means SSD. And we've corrected them and corrected them and corrected them, and they won't listen to us. So it's their company. If they want to undersell, if they want to use improper technical language, we're going to lose a little bit of respect in regards to the fact that even the manufacturers are that ignorant. But that doesn't mean the product is bad. This has 2 M.2 slots NVMe. They're both PCIe 4x4. And it's got 3 different power modes: silent mode, balanced, and performance. It has Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.2 built in. Its adapter is a 19-volt, 120-watt adapter. It's got 2 USB 4 ports, so this is impressive. It has Oculink. I think this is impressive. It's got 2 USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type A's and 2 USB 2.0 Type A's, which are great for keyboards and mice. You've got 2 2.5 gig LAN. You have a 3.5 millimeter audio jack. And you see this price here, $619. That's with 24 gigs of RAM and 1 terabyte of storage. And that's for EU. We would want a US adapter. So anyway, I didn't buy it from here. What I did is I went over to Amazon. And I saw Amazon has the same unit available without RAM or storage for $319. I think that's a really good price. However, what you need to keep in mind is if we jump over to Amazon, I guess I have to type it correctly though, don't I? And you want to type in how much is 32 gigs of DDR5 SODIMM RAM. You're looking around, so let's say we got a pair. After sales tax here in Arizona, that's about $40 in sales tax. You get a little over $400 for 2 16 gig sticks if you want 32 gigs. So you're already more expensive than the rest of the computer just getting 32 gigs of RAM. Now you could go cheaper. You could go to 16 gigs of RAM. You can go to a single stick of RAM. It's a little bit cheaper. And yeah, I mean, you're looking at right around $400. I mean, you can spend a lot more, don't get me wrong. They've got some here that, you know, this is 64 gigs of RAM for 4 times the cost of this computer. All right, so that's where we're at. And with regards to the solid state drive, I happen to have a 2 terabyte S880 from this company Beijing. That's another $265. You add those two numbers together, and then you add it to the cost of this $300 mini PC, and you're now closer to $1,000. But that's not the mini PC maker's fault. That's the same for any mini PC. If you want to equip it like that, that's what you can expect to spend. Now, they're advertising it at $619 with 24 gigs of RAM and a 1 terabyte SSD. Now, this is a fast SSD, by the way. They probably aren't putting a fast one in there. They're probably putting a mid-range, so that's going to lower the price. And now you're looking at $160 after tax, about $175. So when you add up the cost of the RAM and the storage, you far exceed the cost of the mini PC. I don't think that because of that, the mini PC has less value. I see it the other way around. I see mini PC manufacturers going very, very low on the price because they can't make the profits they used to make. People aren't buying them because people say, look, you could give this to me for free. I could have this completely for free. I still have to come up with about $500 worth of RAM and storage before I can use this. So when you think about that, and then you go, oh, for $619, I get some RAM and storage already in it. Suddenly that seems like a bargain. Now this will change when the RAM and SSD shortages go away. Once AI settles down and they buy what they need to buy, things will return to normal. We don't know when that's going to happen. So this is where we're at currently in June of 2026. And so if you need a computer, this is, unless you already have RAM and storage you can use, then these bargain computers where you're getting so much computing for so little money are useless to you. But that's not the manufacturer's fault. They're just offering it as an option. They also offer it with RAM and storage. And it's cheaper if you get it already built, from the manufacturer with the RAM and storage than if you were to go and buy it yourself. So unless you already have it, in this case, I have DDR5 I bought a couple years ago. I've got these Beijing drives I bought a couple years ago. They're sitting in inventory, just sitting on a shelf. But we're going to use that today. So it's not costing me any more money. And this was probably $80 when I bought it. And this 2 terabyte drive was probably about $110, $100. So everything's gone up in price for RAM and solid state drives by, I'd say solid state drives have almost doubled and RAM has quintupled. What are you going to do? It is what it is. It's not permanent. It's just like a rainy day. Eventually the rain will stop. In the meantime, you're in the same boat with the rest of us. It affects us all equally. And patience may be all you need to have to resolve the problem. But with all that in mind, because we have the RAM and storage, I said for $300, heck yeah, that seems like a hell of a deal. So before we get to the unboxing, let me say hello to everybody joining us in our chat room today, because I haven't done that yet. I'm so excited about getting started here, but I want to shout out our friend Buster, of course, and as always, for his generous support and contribution. He sends an Amazon gift card in lieu of a super chat, which we appreciate very, very much. And just want to give him a shout out there in Scotland and say thank you. We hope you're doing well. Paul Vircher says hello, along with Jonathan Fells, Sean Skinner, and David Graham here in our chat room. I see 3D Everything, Richard DeFries and Mark Gaines, Dazzle555, all saying hello. Maralina, that's our chat room, well, our channel administrator, and she takes care of all the video descriptions, answering emails, working with manufacturers to get arranged for reviews, which is happening few and far between. But without her, we wouldn't even have had, for example, Cube. She arranged all of that to happen, and she's doing a lot of work in the background that you're seeing the results of, but you're not seeing the time put into it. So a shout out and a thank you to Mara for all the work she does here. Mark Baggett says hello. There's Buster. He says the temperature in Edinburgh, Scotland is 56 degrees Fahrenheit or 13.3 degrees Celsius. I see Alex Offerman saying hello. Mark Leibowitz joins us from Chicago, where he says it's cloudy and rainy. Maybe a bit like Edinburgh. 70 degrees Fahrenheit, 21 degrees Celsius. A little bit warmer, I think. Andy W6AD joins us, says happy Mini Palooza, Marlena and Carey. Back at you, my friend. Ron Barnish says, hey, another month in the book. Says he renews membership. Now a member 46 months. Good to see you, Ron. Thank you for continuing the support here. And I also see Dragon Time Lord, David Herzog, Jim Kenny, Gary Tatum, Jason Wyrick, and Brian Weber saying hello. There's R.W. Roblu saying hello, along with John Lewis RV, John Rogers, Rick Lakes, Arnold Albert says hello. Frankie B says hello from Brooklyn. Mike Super joining us. He says he bought 2 office keys from VIP-URCDKEys, and he had a problem with one of the keys. He sent them a message on chat, and within 10 minutes they got back to me and gave me a working key. Mistakes happen, and they corrected it right away. They didn't make you wait. They didn't ghost you. That is exactly what I demand from anybody I'm going to endorse here, regardless of the money. If they're not delivering, if they're ripping off my audience, they aren't going to be here very long, and I'm going to make sure to warn everybody. But because of this prime example right here, this is why we endorse them. They stand behind the product. They don't just say they do, they actually do. So you don't have to worry if something, again, people make mistakes, and if something like that happens, you should not immediately go on the rampage. Give them the benefit of the doubt. It very rarely happens, but when it does, they'll take care of you. I also see Terrell Cochran saying hello in the chat, along with Mr. P3D. He says the phrase I was looking for is new old stock. Oh, when they have 6-year-old parts, they're new parts that are 6 years old. New old stock. I'll try and remember that. Donaldin says hello, and Edward Bass joins us as well. Lana Dro says hello in the chat room, along with Eddie Casanova. Bike Man said he spent yesterday troubleshooting his gaming laptop. And Bradley Morris renews membership, now a member for 49 months. That is awesome. Thank you, Bradley. Proteva says hello in the chat. So if you're watching us live here Sunday afternoon, or it could be Sunday evening, depending on where you are in the world, we are broadcasting live around the world, live, unscripted, and unrehearsed. As a real working computer technician with over 35 years in the industry, all I'm doing is turning the camera on and showing you my process. How have I stayed in business this long? Well, I'm going to show you. And you can use that to your advantage. You could use it to even start your own business and follow along with the free instruction I offer here on YouTube. And it's through the support of our community that I'm able to continue. You know, it's a little frustrating. The other day, I was visiting with Subaru Mike, and he said, what happened to our Subaru videos? I've got friends who call me and say, I was trying to find your video. Is it not there anymore? And I had to explain to Mike, no, I didn't take your videos down. They're still there. But when we made those videos 13 years ago, there wasn't many other Subaru videos showing like engine rebuilding. So if you typed in how to rebuild an engine on a Subaru, your videos, or the videos that he and I made, they're right up there in the top 5. But in the last 13 years, well, let me put it to you this way. If I go over here to the browser, let's go to the browser together. Let me open up, let's open up Google, and let's do a window capture on that. And we say, how much content, if I can spell, is uploaded to YouTube every day. Users upload over 500 hours each minute. Okay? So that's more than 720,000 hours of footage. So how much content is uploaded to YouTube? Between 2013 and 2026. Or we could just say now. Approximately 1.5 to 2 billion individual videos. Billion. That's 1,000 million. That's actually 1,000 million would be a billion. Okay, so now when you go to search, so look here, 2013, 100 hours of video content was uploaded per minute in 2013, and 300 hours per minute in 2014, and 400 hours per minute in 2015. From 2019 to now, it's averaging somewhere around at least no less than 500 hours of content every single minute of every hour of every day of every month. So by today's standards, you're looking at 30,000 hours of videos posted every hour, 720,000 hours of videos posted every 24 hours. So I'm trying to explain to Mike that his videos are still there, but they're buried now. And the reason they're buried is because a lot of other content creators have come on board to YouTube to share their content. And so the pro of that is for the viewer. The pro of it is that, hey, if you're looking for almost any subject, no matter how obscure, there's probably a video on it. It may not be a good video, or it might be amazing. In fact, there might be a dozen videos. So in 2013, we were one of the few people at that time to have a breakdown and a reassembly of a Subaru engine. But since then, you know, cameras have gotten better, and people working in teams can film much better videos, quite frankly, than we could. And the algorithm says, if you're looking for a Subaru rebuild, you know, video, we're going to sort it by how popular, how many views the video has, and how fresh the video is. So the fewer views and the older your content, the more likely it's never going to get seen. It gets further and further down the list where people will just stop scrolling. There's so many videos now. I was trying to count them and I just gave up. Once I got to page 2, I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm not going to count them. And I couldn't find the video, but I know it's there. So the only way around that would be to put something unique in the title that nobody else is using. So at least your friends can find it, but nobody else will find it because no one else is going to use that particular word. You'd have to pick a unique word, put it in the title or the description, and then you could tell your friends, if you want to look for my video, type in this little secret word. But that's not going to help anybody else. That'll just be, and that's what I was trying to explain to Subaru Mike, and I don't know, he looked a little skeptical, but I don't know what to do. You know, we used to make money from it, and now there's so many content creators, the money's being divided 100 million different ways. So it used to be $1,000 is $10 now. Instead of one content creator making 1,000, it's, you know, 100 content creators making $10. And that's just how the platform has changed over time. And it is what it is. You know, it's a victim of its own success, and the content creators that were doing well on the platform are no longer doing well on the platform because it's overcrowded. As a result, what we have done to counter that is we turned on memberships, and we said, look, we're not going to make it from advertisers. If we want to sell out to a corporate sponsor, I don't want to do that either. So we can shut the channel down, or we can ask our members to support us, and we can be independent and free of all the advertising and algorithms. And that's exactly what you guys have allowed us to do, is to break the chains of algorithm and break the chains of corporate control. Because you support us, we only answer to you. We don't answer to corporations. We don't answer to YouTube. We don't answer to people who aren't supporting us. There's nothing in it for us to do that. I mean, we're happy to help people regardless if they support us or not. But we don't have to tolerate their disrespect And if they say, well, we're not going to watch you anymore, it doesn't matter. Like, so what? It's not like it used to be where that did matter. Of course, we want people to watch us, but not people that are demanding and entitled. We're much better off without them. And they can't seem to understand that some of the viewers think that they're doing us a favor by watching our content, so therefore we owe them. And it's like, no, that might have made sense 13 years ago, but today, YouTube has basically made subscribers pretty much worthless as far as YouTube is concerned. Not to me, and views are pretty much worthless to YouTube as far as, unless you're getting like an astronomical number of views, which most YouTube content creators aren't getting. You know, 97%, 98% of YouTube content creators aren't going to see very many views per video. It's just too crowded. You know, it's like trying to find somebody at a concert that's just jammed up with 15,000, 20,000 people. They're at Wembley and the Rolling Stones are playing or something. Your friend says, meet me at Wembley. Yeah, I hope you guys figure out a spot to meet at, because if you're just walking around thinking you're going to bump into them, ain't going to happen. Okay. Well, that's kind of what YouTube is now. And, you know, we're so grateful you guys have found us and that you support us, and that you understand that the changes that have occurred over the years with YouTube, and that we didn't decide this. We're just reacting to it, and things have changed beyond our control. We're just, you know, unlike Tech Deals. Tech Deals was a great website, a great YouTube channel, and they went away very quietly without saying goodbye. They just ghosted everybody and disappeared with no explanation. I don't know. I find that very disrespectful. It's almost a betrayal. It would be very courteous for the content creator to thank their audience and to say goodbye. They did not do that, and I don't know why. There could be a reason I don't know about that, you know, could justify that. I don't know. But that's one hell of a slap in the face to all of your loyal viewers. So it goes both ways. Anyway, I want to get on with today's review, and I want to say thank you again to everybody that supports us here, because without you, this would not be on the table. Bradley Morris renews membership. Did I say that one already? 49 months? Yeah, I think I already just did that one, because 49, I don't know. Did I ever see a 49 before that? Is that our first one? We have a handful of members here that have that loyalty. That I'm pretty sure we turned the memberships on 49 months ago, and they were there then, and they're there now. And you have no idea how appreciative I am of that kind of support. Like Buster, our friend Buster's been supportive way back. We did that Threadripper community build, which was one of the first times we asked our community to chip in to help pay for the build. And Buster stepped right up back then, just as he does now. And it's funny because I didn't think he was real. I was very skeptical. And turns out, not only is he real, he is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. Not just to me, to any of you. If any of you say hello to Buster, I promise he'll say hello back, and he's very sincere. He's very kind. And not that he's the only one in the community, but he stands out as somebody that has been here a very long time and has set that example from day one. And I'm so honored that he, as well as all of you, but especially people that are that kind and that supportive, being a part of this community has got my gratitude beyond words. And so for each and every one of you, I thank you for joining us here and for allowing these videos to continue. YouTube could care less. YouTube's got more content than they know what to do with. So if they lose a channel here or there, they don't even miss it. They don't even know it's gone. But everybody joining us, whether you're in green or blue or white, we appreciate having you here and being a part of our community. And we hope you'll stick around a very long time. Frankie B says, Carey, when are you getting the lights? Oh, speaking of generosity, our friend Buster sent us some lights. They came in the other day. I haven't had time to even get them unboxed yet. I have to clear the area behind me, find a place to put all the stuff, but well, not all of it, but about 6 feet of it, 10 feet of space, which isn't tough work. It's not going to be that hard. I just haven't done it yet. But the lights, I'm staring at them. They're on the other side of the camera that Buster paid for and sent to us, are sitting in a box. So what they're for is to get rid of these shadows behind me. It's driving me crazy. So the idea is to put some lights down on the floor behind me and to have those lights shine up the wall. That's what professional studios do. And that should eliminate the shadows and the picture should look better. So now it's my fault. It's just procrastination. I've been preoccupied doing a couple other things. But it's on my to-do list. But thank you for asking. Ian, the Geordie Gamer, says, I'm from Northeast England. Well, cheers, Ian. Welcome in. Michael Young says, YouTube is taking more money next month. Yeah, YouTube is increasing the price of YouTube Premium for the consumers. So they're not just pulling it from the creators, they're pulling it from the consumers, and they're pulling it from the advertisers. And the advertisers are about walking out. What few advertisers there are now are paying pennies when they used to pay dollars, because YouTube cannot dictate that price anymore. Pretty much the advertisers are calling the price and saying, this is what you're worth, and you can take it or leave it, universally, worldwide. So YouTube can either take the money that they're offering or not take it at all. And YouTube being YouTube, they'll take it. So now you're going to probably watch 3 or 4 ads per video, and YouTube will make approximately 90% less money from those ads. So even showing you 4 ads will total less than 40% of what they used to make for a single ad. And then they say, well, if you pay for the premium, you won't see the ads anymore. But they're still not making enough money, so they have to raise the price of premium. Or that's their story. In the meantime, the CEO will brag about how much money they make year after year. So you figure that out. You know what I mean? Like, if things are so well and good, why do you have to raise the price? Clearly, they're not that good. They're lying, or they're just greedy and they just can't have enough until they implode. But again, we're all in the boat. We don't own the boat. YouTube owns the boat. So if they sink it, I guess we go down with the ship. I don't know. I have no idea. Michael Young says wall wash lighting. Yeah, they're wall washer lights. That's what they're called. Jason Warwick says he likes the shadows. I don't know why you would like that. You won't normally see that like on the news, like when the weatherman's pointing at things, you don't normally see the shadows against the wall. Or when the anchors are talking, you don't normally see the shadows. When you watch a television show, any kind of media on television that's professional, right? They usually have professional lighting. You don't just turn on lights and broadcast. They have to be positioned in ways to avoid shadows and to avoid what we call blowing someone out, which is it becomes too bright and everything gets whitewashed, or it's too dim and it's, you know, difficult to really make out any detail, or they have the lights in wrong positions creating shadows, which can be distracting from the content itself. So we're just trying to up our game a little bit, be a little bit more professional. It wasn't that important to me until other things that were more important got dealt with, like broadcasting in 4K, having a proper studio we could operate out of. Those were higher priority, and now we can move down the list to things like shadows, because that's where we're at right now. And you know, for a while we were working on figuring out the sound. So we're slowly progressing. We don't have the big budgets of big studios, and we don't have audio engineers and lighting designers and directors of photography to position cameras, or even camera operators. So it gets done in little bite-sized pieces until we get it figured out. And then once we do, we move to the next thing we got to figure out. And that right now are these shadows. But it's just it's bothering me. But I'm glad to hear you like it, at least one of you. But I don't like it. And a shout out to Buster. I didn't I was just mentioning casually I need to order some lights, and I was showing you the lights on camera that I was on Amazon that I was going to order. And before I get a chance to order it after the show, Buster says, they're on their way to your house now. What? So hopefully they're going to resolve the issue. I don't want to, you know, when dealing with getting the sound addressed and the right cameras, we went through, I don't know, a half dozen cameras. We went through a half dozen microphones before we found the right ones. That's a very expensive process. So I hope these are the right lights the first go around, and I don't have to, you know, send them back or you know, get something different. I do believe, honestly, that's going to solve our problem. He even sent us a couple spares. So what more could you ask for? I mean, the generosity and the thoughtfulness there is, like I said, it's difficult for me to express how grateful I am. John Skinner says, do I still have my logo sign? I have a big neon sign. It's hanging on the wall in the studio. Yep. Jason Ryrick says he likes the shadows because it's a reminder that I am not AI. Yeah, well, you know, that's going to get tougher and tougher. AI has for years been generating shadows. So it's not like AI can't do it. There's plenty of AI with simulated shadows. Andy says he never noticed the shadows until they were mentioned. Yeah. Well, you know, I don't mind mentioning it now because I'm about to fix it, but that's why I didn't talk about it before. I didn't want to draw any attention to it. Okay, well, let's get to unboxing. Somewhere in here I have a knife. There it is. So again, this is the AOOSTAR GEM12 MAX. There are plenty of content reviewers reviewing this last year and nobody else reviewing it since. They all reviewed it at once and they all moved on and abandoned it. We're looking at it for the very first time. Now that all the sheep have walked away, we can enjoy our piece. At a much better price than what they were, you know, what the prices were when they were reviewing it were much higher than this. Want that? There you go. All right, here we go. Set that over here just as a reminder of what we're working on today. And actually, does that even say anything else? It just says mini. Let's turn it around the other way. Maybe that's a little more descriptive if somebody's just tuning in. Oh no, I lost it. All right, I should have left it alone. All right, let's see how it's packed and what it includes in the box. There we go. And we'll go to a close-up on camera 2 here so we can see this. So right on top, we've got this foam. We've got this little flap here that's stuck in the box. Surprise is about to happen. I hope it's a good surprise. There's a little card here for dear user, please read this content before using the product, blah, blah, blah. It's our boilerplate stuff. This is a very basic user manual, not much usefulness here. If you're not quite sure where things plug in, or if you want to look at the basics of how to open the unit. Pretty standard. It looks like 4 screws on the bottom, and then the bottom pops up there. And I think both sides of this are the same. I think one side is in, let me see. I see some form of Chinese language, whether that's Mandarin or Cantonese, I don't know. And then in English. So it's the same instructions on both sides, just written in different languages. So even that isn't really everything it appears to be. It's only half of what it appears to be, depending on which language you can read. And then in the box here, you can see we've got the mini PC all wrapped up. And let's take it out of its wrapping. Oh, this is a chonker. How thick that is. It's a thick boy. And in the back, you've got the 2 Ethernet ports with the warning not to plug it in until after you get to the desktop. Or don't even connect it to the Wi-Fi either. You've got some dust covers on which is unusual, these little dust covers on the display port and the HDMI port. I don't know why they put those in there. See here? That's not normal. The only time I typically see the dust covers placed over the video ports is if you have an external graphics card, or you've added, like in a desktop computer, you've added a graphics card and you're trying to, you know, dictate to the customer, you know, don't use these ports here, use the ones on the card. Because this does have Oculink, which is, where is it? I thought this, oh, Oculink is right up here on the front. That's a weird place for it. Oculink is not hot swappable, by the way. You cannot simply plug in a GPU dock to any Oculink connector ever made. You must make sure that the dock is off and the PC is off. Then and only then can you plug or unplug it safely. Otherwise, you may create a short circuit, and that would be an expensive thing to fix. That is not a warranty issue. That's just users not knowing what they're doing. It's not USB. It is not hot swappable. I cannot emphasize that enough. If you've got a $1,000 graphics card and a $200 dock plugged into a $1,000 mini PC, and you plug that in while it's on, you could toast all of it, potentially. All right, so getting back to the box, we've got this little box right here. You see there's a hole in there. That's what that's for, is to get your finger in there and pull that out. And the rest of the box is empty. In here, we'll have our power brick right there. That's that 120 watt power brick we discussed earlier. It's a barrel style power connector. And it comes with a power cord, just like a laptop. This doesn't plug directly in the wall. This plugs in the wall, plugs into this, and then this plugs into that. So that gives you lots of cord for reaching the wall. You get a couple of NVMe heat sinks, because this does not include an NVMe, or you could buy an NVMe drive with a heatsink already built onto it from the factory. We've got whatever this is. Oh, these are spare rubber feet. We've got more spare rubber feet. These are taller. So they give you 5mm rubber feet. See the 5mm on the bag? And 8mm rubber feet if you want to raise this up a bit higher to get more air under it. There are no rubber feet on it right now. So because it's bare bones, they know you're going to have to open this up. You can't use it without RAM or storage. So they leave the rubber feet off, and then you can decide how low you want this to the ground. Obviously, lower is not good. You want it higher, not lower. These two brass screw points here, that's for a VESA mounting bracket, for mounting this. That means that there's a, oh, I took it out, a VESA mounting bracket with screws. If you wanted to mount this behind a monitor, under a desk, etc. I personally have never used one of these, but there it is. It's included in the box. Finally, there's, what else? Oh, this little piece here, this is the punch out from the cardboard hole. That's just garbage. I don't want that to confuse you. And then this is just a short HDMI cable, which if you were to mount this behind your monitor, you don't want a 6-foot HDMI cable hanging down below your monitor and then going right back up into the back. It's ugly. So this short little HDMI cable is there to run a little distance between the back of the unit to the back of the monitor without having all the excess cable. I never use these because they're too short for me to use them. So with all that said, we're going to pop that in there. We're going to put that back in. We're going to put in the, so like I'll use the 8mm rubber feet personally. I wouldn't use these 5. I don't know why they would include the 5mm. Oh, maybe the shorter feet, or if you're going to mount it and you need to have the unit really close to whatever you're mounting it to. I'll bet you that's what that's for. And because I never mount them using the bracket, that's why I'm so like, why would anybody use that? I imagine that's exactly the scenario. Otherwise, you should be using the taller feet. You want more airflow, not less. And then we'll leave one of these out. We'll use one on the NVMe drive we put in there. And I already have my own power cable plugged in and ready to go. So I'll leave all of that wrapped up like new. And let's just move this out of the way. In fact, let's get these dust covers out of here. Let's get the manual and this piece of cardboard here. Really nice packing. All that for $300. All of this I've just shown you, $300. Do you think that's a good price for all that? Not to mention the specs on it. It's got Oculink plus 2 M.2s that are Gen 4x4 plus USB 4. I'm just waiting for when the prices get to a point where they're going to pay me to take it. All right, let's open it up because we obviously have to open this. We do have an arrow indicating, well, and I think in this point I really do need to get my reading glasses because the font on here is like a medicine bottle. I didn't even know you could print letters that small. It says, when removing the back cover, please be cautious of the wires on the back. Oh, there's a fan back here, and they're telling you when you take this back off, if you just pull it off thoughtlessly, you might rip the wires out. So when you take this off, do it gently. Then we have another warning here that says, you know, don't plug this into the internet or hook it up to Wi-Fi until after you set up Windows. That's pretty universal. Whether it's a laptop, a desktop, even one you just built, you should follow those steps. And then we have a QR code with a person with a headset right there if you ever need support. It's right on the sticker on the bottom of the unit, along with your make and serial number here. All right, let's get it opened up. We'll go back here to a close-up again. Oh, that screwdriver's slipping. Let's try this one. Usually they use really delicate, smaller screws. These are not. These are more standardized Phillips #2 screws, which I'm surprised to see on a mini PC. And it usually requires a thicker screwdriver with a fatter end on it to get the screws out, which again is pretty unusual on a mini PC. But a more robust screwdriver with a more robust screw is always welcome in my world. Take away some of the delicate nature of this stuff. And then I want to pay attention to which direction this back panel is facing, this lid, if you will. The arrow is pointing to the front. See the front here? You see the arrow there, right here? So when I go to put this back on, I don't want the arrow facing the back. Because it's rectangular in shape, it can go on potentially one of two ways. And I always forget. And me turning this on the wooden table like this could be scratching up the surface. You might want to lay a soft towel down or something when you're working on it. Even paper towels, to be honest, something that you're not going to get static from. Unfortunately, there's no apparent pull tab on this. I don't know how you're supposed to get this lid removed. I don't see any cutaways for a spudging tool or anything. So that's unfortunate. But if I grab my spudger tool, which I have in here, right here, let's see if I can get in the seam. Oh, that's easy. So something is holding it in. If you notice, it's coming up real easy and it's sticking right about here. So that tells us we have a plastic tab somewhere around here. And what I'm trying to do is bend the outer shell away from. So imagine you have a tab, and that tab, let's say this is the tab, and it's latching underneath the plastic shell. By putting the spudger in and bending the outer shell away, the tab slides up without any resistance, and you don't have to worry about breaking it or using any force. Once you've taken that part off, then everything opens up nice and clean and easy. And you can see our pretty large cooling fan here. You can see the RAM sockets right there and there, and the two NVMe sockets right here and here. That's your CMOS battery right there. Your Wi-Fi card, pre-installed, ready to go, is also replaceable. So everything on this is upgradable. And that's pretty much the only part of this you need to get into. After that, if you're working on the other side, you're in over your head, or you're an electronics technician that takes responsibility for that you believe you have the skills to do that. For the average user, you shouldn't ever disassemble this beyond this point, or you could void your warranty potentially. Apparently, if you wanted to get the board out, you would take out these standoffs and then the board would come out. But I can't imagine any legitimate reason for you to do that unless you are very, very good with electronics. Okay, so let's put some RAM in this. Today we have the Team Group Elite DDR5. This RAM is 5200 speed. You may see that it promoted as 5200 megahertz or 5200 mega transfers per second. It's all the same. The nerds in this world just like to make things confusing because they find that enjoyable. I do not find it enjoyable, and I'm going to call BS when I see it. Don't feel overwhelmed by technical jargon. A lot of times it doesn't mean much. The fact that the techs can't agree on if it's mega transfers a second or megahertz tells you just how, well, the nerds like to think they're smart, but when they can't agree with each other on what smart is, and you just have to start wondering if they're really smart at all, or if it's all just a big show. They're just people like us. But for some reason, they really like to gatekeep others out by making things as confusing. Well, a certain percentage, not everybody, but a certain percentage of very technical people like to keep people out by making it discouraging and as confusing as possible. And when you find out what they're obfuscating, it's actually pretty stupid, simple stuff, in my experience. And I like to call them out on it, and they don't like me when I do that. They say, Carey, why you got to be like that? I go, well, why you got to be like that? And they say, I don't like you, and I don't like you either. I don't want to be part of your little cult. All right, so over here now we've got 2 slots for NVMe drives, and it looks like some pretty good spacing for heatsink. So if we have a drive with a heatsink already on it, that'll work better than this. But on the other hand, if you have no heatsink on it, you should use this. That's why it's included. So there's best, better, and bestest. So depending on the size of the heatsink, the better it cools. This one's pretty shallow. They definitely had room in here. Plenty of room in here. And there's a fan too. So, out of curiosity, I'm going to leave the heatsink off, because I feel like with that fan running, this sticker on this drive is made of something called graphene, which is in effect a heatsink. It's just very thin. The thinner the heatsink is, the less effective it is. But the fact is, it does have one. And if it's being cooled actively with a fan, versus many PCs have no fan down here, so the only airflow is passive, then you definitely need a heatsink on it. But I would wonder if we even need it with this fan. So what I'm going to do is try it and see. I'm curious. So I'm going to grab my my little screwdriver here and take out the screw for the NVMe. It doesn't matter which port you use, but traditionally, if you open up most factory-made mini PCs, they tend to always put the bootable NVMe drive over the Wi-Fi card. So just for the sake of tradition and keeping things standardized, we're going to continue that tradition so we know what to expect when we open it up in the future, that everything is in a position we expect it to be in on every other mini PC, that this will not vary from that. Since both NVMe drives are Gen 4x4, it makes no technical difference. This is for making it easier on a human working on it. It avoids the confusion that can result of why is it in this one instead of that one? No reason. They just did it differently. Why did they do it differently? I don't know. You'd have to ask them. You see all the confusion it creates for no reason whatsoever. So I'm just going to snap that back on and just move the screws aside for right now, because with that, we're ready to boot it up and see. Well, it's not going to boot. There's nothing to boot to, but we can at least make sure it powers on. And then if it does, the next step will be to install Windows 11 on it, which I have right here. And yes, Microsoft did update the Windows 11 Media Installer to include all the latest updates from last Tuesday. And I already downloaded it and changed my bootable installer so that all those updates are already slipstreamed in here. So there will still be some updates, but not as many as a result of it already being on the installer. With that, let's get it plugged in. So again, no internet, but we do need an HDMI cable. So this would be the equivalent of plugging it into a monitor. In our case, we have a capture card here in the streaming computer, and that's how we're able to send the video directly to your screen. So we plug that in. I need a keyboard and a mouse. Look at me, all prepared. So we'll plug that into one of the USB 2 ports, leaving the USB 3 ports for actual devices like a flash drive that can benefit from the added speed. You're not going to type your keyboard in any faster on USB 3, so I wouldn't waste the port. And then let's grab my power cable right down here and plug that in. Okay, no printers, no flash drives, no accessories, no external drives, no internet. 3 things: power, video, keyboard, and mouse. That's how you want to power on any new computer, even if you built it yourself. Because if we have any problems, it'll be easier to figure out what the problem is. Like if our RAM isn't compatible or something's wrong with the RAM or the storage, we'll be able to diagnose that lightning fast. But if we start adding a bunch of things, assuming everything's going to work, should it not work, I don't want to be in your shoes trying to figure out what's causing it, because you just made your world very, very messy. So let's go back over here to camera 1. And, oh look, it already turned on. That normally doesn't happen unless the BIOS battery is dead. So I don't know why that's already on, or if I might have accidentally pressed the button. I also think there's a piece of plastic right here protecting this piano shiny black finish, which we can probably peel off, I think. I don't see any pull tab. Oh yeah, there it is. I'll show you. I see people own remote controls and computers and things leaving this plastic on there, and it's causing their devices to overheat, or it'll yellow and bubble up and it looks like crap, and your 6-month-old computer will look like it's 5 years old. What's great about leaving the plastic on is when you sell it to the next person, it'll look like new when they peel it off. So you're doing a great service to a future buyer by leaving that on. It's not meant to be left on. It's just there to keep it from getting scratched up in shipping. And they don't really, in this case, do much to let you know you should remove it. There's no pull tab or anything obvious on that. Okay, so let me get back over to camera 1. And let's get to the desktop. We should have some boot up here. It took us into the BIOS. I'm going to turn this off. All right, so now it's off, and we'll press the power button again. We'll watch it as it turns on and processes. So it's back on. Let's see how long this takes. Bingo. So here is our BIOS. Because the drive I put in is empty, there's nothing for it to boot from. So it just says, okay, well, you started me up. You can see it identifies our 32 gigs of RAM. The date and time are off by about 12 hours because there's a 12-hour difference, I want to say, between us and Asia. So the time was right in Asia where they made it. We're not going to adjust this date and time because we're not living in 1990s. We don't have a flashing 12 on the VCR anymore. Those days are behind us. Well, you could still manually overwrite it. You're working harder than you need to and doing unnecessary work. That let the computer do it, and it'll do a better job than you will, more consistently than you can. But it's your computer, and if you want to monkey with it, be my guest. All right, we're going to go over here. We've got advanced computing, trusted computing. We've got all your basic, TPM, power configuration information, CPU stuff, hardware monitor. You can control the fan for some reason if you want it to control that. I leave everything the way the engineers have balanced it for us. But you can adjust it if you have certain preferences. It's yours to do with. I'm just showing you what the options are. I usually leave them all at default settings. I'm trying to find the quiet versus balanced versus performance. That's usually it's not there. It's usually under a CPU configuration. Not there. CBS? No. Don't see. I'm just quickly trying to find, this is all memory stuff, where it might say performance or balance. I expect it to be in balanced mode. Eco mode. No idea what that's. Well, that's obviously power. This is all security. Huh. Said it was in there. Why am I not finding it? I don't expect it down in here, but I'm going to look anyway. These are the only two options we can change, just date and time on the main BIOS page. So normally what I would be looking for, power configuration, right? Power mode, that's what I was looking for. So that's where you can select quiet and performance. It would make sense, it's under power mode, right? Where else would you put it? So with that said, what we're gonna do, let me come back over here to camera one. We're going to take our newly updated Windows 11 Media Installer, which I've never used before today. We're going to plug it into one of our fast USB 3 ports because this is a fast flash drive. I paid 3 times more for this flash drive because it's faster. I didn't just buy the cheapest flash drive because my time has value. And if I plugged it into one of the rear USB ports here, then I would be running at approximately 1/10 the speed. It'd be 90% slower. Which is fine if you've got all day. Save the money on the flash drive. Just understand that price you pay is equal to the performance you're getting. So you have to decide, is your time worth more or is your time worth less? And buy accordingly. Now, all I need to do is reboot the computer and it should automatically boot from this flash drive because there's nothing else for it to boot from without me telling the BIOS anything. It should just be set up from the factory that way. Let's test and see. So we're going to come back over here and I'm simply not going to make any changes. I'm going to just escape out and hit save and exit, discard changes and reset. So everything is left at factory settings. So now when it reboots, it's going to look for something to boot from, and it starts by looking at the internal hard drive first, or it should be. If it's not there, the second thing it should try, maybe USB or the network. There's all different kinds of boot options. But it does find something to boot from all by itself. If you leave it alone and you don't monkey with it, this is how it'll work. That's why it's set up from the factory that way. Again, if this was 1996, my advice would be very different. This is an example of ways the technology is improved that requires less input from the user, and it's all designated from the factory to be as seamless as possible. So we're going to just go through our regular Windows setup process here. And I'm sure you guys have seen me do this hundreds of times, but if you're new here, you can go back and look at any of my older videos where I walk through explaining every screen. I'm not going to do that this time because I want to get through this. We're going to say I don't have a product key. Right now, we would not use a product key. And then it's going to ask, well, without a product key, I don't know what version of Windows you want. You want Home, you want Education, you want Pro. I want Pro because I will be buying a product key for Pro. And in fact, AOOSTAR will send you a product key for free. That's what they told me. All you got to do is ask for it. Okay, there's our NVMe 2 terabyte drive right there, unallocated space. That's what a brand new NVMe drive looks like out of the box. So we're going to hit next. That disk 1, partition 1 and 2, that's our flash drive that has Windows on it. Then that's a summary of what we're about to do, and then off to the races it goes. So we're going to get Windows 11 installed on here and see what the driver situation looks like. So if I come back here to camera 1 and I'll put myself down in a corner, we can keep an eye on me as well as this installer. Terrell Cochran said, oh, in the BIOS it was set to power on power failure. That would explain why the power light came on. Yep, appreciate that. Our friend Buster is saying good night. Hey, Buster, thanks for hanging out with us. It's good to see you, my friend. We'll see you again tomorrow. Jason Wyrick says, if the date is off by a few decades, you'd have to set it by hand. If you can ever show me a new computer where the date is off by decades, please show me a photo. You guys have very vivid imaginations that don't reach reality. It's like, well, if a comet fell out of the sky and it landed next to your house, the electromagnetic interference could affect your Wi-Fi. There's so much imagination. Well, if Batman fought Superman, I try to keep things realistic and practical instead of playing around with my imagination. I have never, ever received a brand new computer where the date was off by decades. In my entire history in this business, it's never once happened. Now, if you buy a used computer, that's different. Somebody probably monkeyed around with it. That's the consequence of monkeying around with it, is you're going to have to fix it. If you leave it alone, you'll never have to fix it. So there you go. That would be a more realistic expectation. And I think you'd have to be off by more than a few decades. I think you have to be off by a couple hundred years. So that would be pretty significant. Someone's got the date inputted as the year 3112. You're probably going to have a problem, but most BIOSes won't allow that anyway. But again, you can use your imagination to conjure up anything to fit your agenda. That doesn't mean it's realistic or feasible. Tombo said, I've been watching you for years, but I'm happy to be on chat for the first time. Well, welcome in. Well, thank you for saying hello and popping in. I appreciate that. You see, I don't know you're watching me for years unless you tell me. YouTube doesn't tell me who's watching me. I just get a vague number of viewers. It doesn't say who they are or where they're from. In the analytics section, I can kind of get percentages. You know, this many people watch from this country and this, but I don't know who you are. I don't know where you're from, and I don't know where in the analytics you are, or if you're in there at all. And let's see, so we're going with our installer here. So we're on our second reboot. That means we no longer need this flash drive anymore. Everything that this flash drive does has already been done. Now it's just going to sit in there for no purpose. We can leave it in, it doesn't hurt anything. But you see on the reboot, the BIOS was automatically defaulted to try and boot from the hard drive first. When the hard drive wasn't bootable, it booted to this and started Windows setup. If the BIOS was set to always boot to the USB first, it would have started Windows setup again. And that would be improperly configured in the BIOS, which is why you should leave it alone. So I'm going to put this back in the drawer. We're done with it. And we'll just let our Windows install finish. And then we'll check our driver status and see where we're at with that. Following that, we're going to go to Windows Update and see how many of those missing drivers, assuming we're going to have some, will be provided automatically through Windows Update. After we do the Windows Update, which should be pretty quick because that's an updated installer, once we do that, we'll reboot and see if any remaining drivers are missing. And if so, locate them and see how easy that is or how difficult it is. And then that will probably be the end of this video. And then we'll follow up on a part 2 where we'll run, you know, Crystal Disk Mark depends on what kind of drive you put in there, right? That's not, unless you bought this machine with a drive, that's on you. And then Cinebench, we can evaluate Cinebench from performance mode to balance mode to a quiet mode. Cinebench takes 20 minutes to run each of those. That'll be an hour of testing, assuming at the minute or the very second the test ends, you go into the BIOS, make the change, and do it again. The fastest you can do that is 60 minutes, probably about 62, 63 minutes. So we're not going to do that live. I'll do it off screen. I'll save the results for each and reboot in between and start again. And then when we come back on part 2, I'll show you those numbers. Let me get rid of camera 1 here so we can see what's going on. United States, yes. US keyboard, no secondary language. Not connecting to the internet. No, no, no. Not this early. Let's put a username in here. USER sounds good. With a blank password, so it'll take us right to the desktop. My personal choice on this is to just turn everything off but location settings and make sure that by leaving location on, it'll take care of our date and time every single day. It'll make sure that we're not losing or gaining any minutes, or if daylight saving time takes effect, we don't have to manually change anything. It takes care of all that for us if we allow it. Corey Man in the chat says, doesn't it ask to press any key if the bootable Windows sees Windows installed? No, it does not. It'll just boot from whatever your boot priority is set to. That's it. So if your boot priority is set to boot to USB first and hard drive second, as long as there's a bootable USB, it'll always boot to that. It will not ask you. That's what you told it to do in the BIOS. So it's doing exactly what you told it to do. The engineers at the factory set it to boot to the hard drive first, and if it cannot, then boot to the USB next, or I'm not sure, somewhere in that. It's definitely not first. So as long as the hard drive is bootable, anything secondary to boot from is no longer an option. But it will not ask you. It'll either boot to the first bootable thing it finds in the order that is selected, or it'll take you into the BIOS. That's it. Andy says so far it's a nice Mini. Yeah, I mean, it's exactly as I expected it to be. So far, nothing is surprising. All right, let's go to, we can plug the internet in now. So if I come back here to camera 1, let me grab my Ethernet cable. Now at this point, if you wanted to connect it to Wi-Fi, you could. I don't do that live on camera, but I'll definitely plug it in here. And we'll see if these Ethernet ports are even, have drivers. And we're going to do that by watching the bottom right corner of the screen and see if that little globe starts flashing right there. It does not appear to be. So it looks like on a clean install of Windows, you cannot get online except wirelessly. But I'm going to just give it a second. And probably both of those LAN connectors are the same controller, which means that if I unplug this and plug this into the other one back here, I'm likely going to see the same result. Let's see. Yeah, it is not acknowledging. That means that the communications driver, the driver is the thing that allows your motherboard, or your operating system, to communicate with a specific piece of hardware, be it a printer, a keyboard, a mouse, a sound card, a network card. The driver is the bridge that allows your operating system to talk, to communicate with that peripheral. Just because the peripheral is built on the board doesn't make any difference than if it were external. So for example, in a situation like this, if I come back here to camera 1, and I'm going to just go to the other corner so you can see what I'm doing here. What I do is I buy these Ethernet adapters that are USB. They don't require individual drivers. These use drivers already in Windows. So I will temporarily, this is USB-C, but I also have USB-A. Plug this in like so, and use this to get me online. Once I have this established, and watch that bottom right corner, see it flashing? It's establishing an IP address. Then I can go online and get the drivers for the network card that's built in. Then I don't need this ever again. Or I would go to AOOSTAR's website and download the drivers from them from a different computer onto a flash drive and copy that onto here. That's the old SneakerNet. That's the old-fashioned way of doing things, but some people may not have a choice. These little adapters are like $10 to $20 on Amazon. They last forever. They never wear out. They very rarely ever break. It'll probably last longer than any of us watching this video will live. So it's not like you should have to buy it any more than once. And beyond that, just don't misplace it. You'll be fine. Now that we're on the internet, it's already starting to download updates, whether we like it or not, which may include driver updates. So now my camera's in the way because the next thing I need to show you is over. I would be blocking it. So I'm going to move this back where it was. We'll put us back down in the bottom right corner. And let's take a look at the device manager, which may already be populating with drivers. Right click on the start menu, go to device manager. Let's see what it looks like. It's not too bad. I mean, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 devices that need drivers, and maybe all 5 will be provided from Windows Update. Let's try that first. So we're going to go to Start button, we'll go to Settings, and we'll go to Windows Update, check for updates. And while we're waiting, well, look, a video driver's going in. You see that? That's all happening behind the scenes from the Microsoft Update server. It doesn't tell us. So don't freak out that your screen blanks out like this. That is exactly what it's supposed to do when replacing a video driver. These are all drivers here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is a security update, security, security, and security. That's all that's left. So with that, while I'm waiting, I can do this advanced options down here. And I like to turn these preferences on for me and my customers. And there are optional updates here, which are likely more driver updates. Yep. So we're going to grab all these. And there's also this big framework update. We'll grab that too. Download and install. Also under advanced updates, or advanced options rather, I like to turn off delivery optimization because that's for downloading the updates from other computers in your office that already downloaded from the servers. And they can share the updates with other computers on the network, which is great when you're in an office with hundreds of computers. It's very, very much bandwidth and time consuming. But for home users, that's a waste of time. Having this feature does nothing for you. Probably turning it off does nothing for you either, to be honest, but I feel better about it being off. And again, while we're waiting, we can check our power settings. I'll come down here and type in edit power right there. It shows edit power plan. Let's see. Yeah, I don't want the screen to turn off on me. Actually, I'll set that to a couple hours. And then I don't want the computer to ever go to sleep because it doesn't run on batteries. So there's no benefit to sleep mode unless batteries are involved, like with a laptop. It might make you feel better, but it's a placebo. It doesn't actually do anything beneficial other than create a potential support call when it doesn't wake up properly. I just hate pointless support calls that have no effect on reality. Just don't use it and you won't have the problem. But if you do have a battery and you're having a problem, that's a legitimate support call. Change what the power buttons do. I want the power button to shut the computer off when I press it on the front of the machine. There is no more sleep buttons on computers anymore, but I'm just going to set it to do nothing anyway. While we're waiting, I'll change our resolution. We're obviously in 4K, which is hard for me to read. So I'm going to go to display settings and I'm going to change this to 1920 by 1080. If it doesn't allow you to change this, it's because you're missing your video driver. In the meantime, while we've been doing all that, the Windows updates have been steadily downloading and installing in the background, so you don't have to sit and stare at your screen. The best thing I can tell you about Windows updates is, aside from a new computer setup, these updates from now on will just happen in the background without you knowing. It doesn't matter how long they take. Ignorance is bliss. You're just going to use your computer just like any other day. And you may get a pop-up that says, or you may get a notification down here in the bottom corner that says Windows needs to restart. That's how it's supposed to work, because you can't count on end users to do the right thing or to have the technical mindset to understand the priority and urgency of it. So Windows just does it for you. And the only time we do it manually is on a new install. Now this update here, this is a big security update. This is going to take a while, but it's already installing. So overall, you know, we're having a good update day with regards to Microsoft servers providing us fast downloads. So while that installs, I'm just curious if any of the device drivers have installed in our device manager. If we're still at 5 missing devices, or are there less? There's 1 less. So we're down to 4 missing drivers. So far, when we reboot, we'll check it again. It'll probably stay at 4. One of the things you're going to want to download, regardless if you think you need it or not, is the AMD Adrenalin software. Now, this is required for all AMD computers, laptops, desktops, mini PCs. If you don't use it, then you're just undermining yourself. It's free and it improves your performance, your security, and your reliability of the machine, but you have to have the knowledge to know to do it. It will not happen automatically. And if it is happening automatically, you'd never know unless you actually checked and verified it. So I typed in AMD Adrenalin on the search engine, and then it's going to ask to accept cookies. And then we're going to just download the software and download the Windows drivers. And that's a pretty small download. You see that it's less than 50 megabytes. Now, if we want to, we can start installing that right now. I'm a little leery of doing 2 installs at the same time, but for the sake of being a wild man, I'm going to do it and see what happens. I don't recommend it because if we don't reboot properly, I won't know if it's caused by this software or the Windows update. But it will get us through faster. So it says AMD software cannot install because Windows update is in progress. Well, there you go. It won't even let us do it. It says you've got to be a fool to do that. Again, end users can make some very, very bad decisions, and I'm glad to see software protecting the end users from themselves. This is more evolution of the technology because it used to let you do it. I am grateful, like you cannot believe, that they're putting Nerf on everything so people stop injuring themselves. It's just the cost of education, right? They don't know any better. So I'm glad I tried that because I thought I could get away with it. And I'm glad to see you no longer can, at least not with the AMD Adrenalin software. And with that, we just have to wait for this to finish and we'll reboot. And this should be done here in just another minute or two. And then we can install the AMD Adrenalin software. And then we'll look and see if there's still anything missing in the device manager. It's hard to know until we get there because this is a new model of PC. If you're looking for something to do, we could visit the AOOSTAR website and see if the drivers are available for this. So if we go to AOOSTAR GEM12 drivers, see what comes up. First link right here, Gem12. But we have a Gem12 Max. What was this? The 8845, isn't it? Let me see. I've already forgotten what we're working on. Right click on the start menu, go to system, and it'll tell us. 8745. It's close. 8745. 88, 69, 8745. That's us right there. So this is supposed to say drivers. Again, the English translation is very bad here. They don't know any better because they don't speak English as their main first language. This should say drivers. They keep repeating the same grammatical wrong word over and over again, like the word ROM instead of SSD, the word drives instead of drivers. We're not dealing with the smartest people here, all right? Just so you know, at this price point, they're not hiring rocket scientists to maintain their website and their drivers. That's to be expected at this price point. If you want that, buy HP, buy Dell, buy Lenovo, buy ASUS, buy from manufacturers that cost more money, that pay for more talented, educated employees. I'm going to say not now on this restart. Obviously, the Windows updates are done, but since I'm here, let me go ahead and grab the drives. This should not say systems. This should say operating system or Windows. It's actually a violation of Microsoft terms for them to distribute this, but they don't care because we're not exactly dealing with an American company following American rules. So they're sort of on their own independently and have no official relationship with Microsoft because Microsoft would end that relationship if they were caught doing this. But if you never had a relationship with Microsoft, too bad. You got nothing to lose. So we're going to go here to drives, which should say drivers. It takes us to Mega Download. That's Kim.com. And Kim.com, that's his real name. He's a German that now lives in New Zealand, where many countries want to extradite him because corporate America wants to sue him for piracy, and New Zealand will not allow his extradition. He's not doing the pirating. His file services are being used by malicious users around the world for illicit copyright infringement. And he says that's not my responsibility. If I use a telephone to threaten you, you can't sue the phone company. You understand? And I understand where he's coming from. But they're saying he's making a lot of money from us, from the advertising. He's not selling the copyrighted content. He's selling the space, he's selling the bandwidth, and he's selling the advertising. And they're saying we deserve that money because it's some of it is our stuff. It's our movies, it's our music on his platform that he's making millions. He's got a house the size of a castle. He's got like 12 fancy, expensive cars. He's very, very wealthy. And the corporates who are also wealthy say, we're not wealthy enough. We want his wealth. It belongs to us. And so he lives in New Zealand to protect himself from being extradited for this kind of maniacal control over greed. And I'm on his side. I agree with him. It's not his fault. He just happens to be profiting by selling the space and the bandwidth. He can't control how you're using it. You might as well go after your ISP. They provided the internet that you use to download the copyrighted music. Why don't you go after the ISP? The power company that provides power to your computer that you're using to download illegal content or copyrighted content, why don't you go after the power company? How about the house you live in that the computer is in? Why don't you go after the house builder, the keyboard manufacturer, the mouse manufacturer, the monitor manufacturer? Where do you draw the line where you say you can't hold those companies responsible based on what the users are using it for? If I buy a hammer and hit you in the head with it, you don't go after the hammer company. So that's my logic. That's the way I see it. Anyway, not everybody uses mega.nz for illicit purposes, because here's a very legitimate reason. Here's all of the drivers. So we'll go to download this. Right here it says download. Allow other apps and services. Blocking the upcoming OS will turn off integration. Oh, I don't think I want that. Again, he's making money off the advertising. So I don't know if it's an option. Standard download. I want to download as a zip file. Oh, see, we could block it just fine. By allowing it, it's allowing advertising on your computer, and he collects a few pennies. Those pennies add up to having a mansion. He's a very wealthy man. All right, so not too bad, 710 megs, and the download speed's much, much better than what we see from oftentimes Google Drive or Microsoft OneDrive. So I appreciate that they're using Mega for this legitimate download, and I appreciate Kim.com providing it. This is how it's intended to be used, not for piracy. And Kim.com cannot control that. Okay, so with that, it's all done. We're going to close this out, and your file's still downloading. No, it isn't. It's not. Okay, now it's done. Let's restart for those updates. See the little yellow dot over the power button? Update and restart. All right, let's see what happens. Oh, let me go back over to the chat room. Bikeman said his USB adapter fell apart. That's usually from mishandling. If you don't treat the equipment respectfully, if you're slapping it around, it probably did not fall apart just sitting there. You have not, from the sounds of it, you've not been treating it well. They're not indestructible. You can break them. If you bang them against things, if you drop them on a hard concrete floor, especially if you're tall, if you're 6 feet tall and you're dropping it from, over your head, you will break them. But I've never seen one broken in my life. So the only difference I can think of is that I handle mine differently. The same could be true for a guitar. So it's going to finish doing these updates that we just downloaded here, and it'll take just a moment. And he said the 8745HS CPU with the integrated 780M graphics is a pretty whiz-bang combo. $300, a little bit over 300, but yeah, it seemed like a really good deal. That's why I bought it. There are a lot of things I could have bought that I didn't. There's probably hundreds of mini PCs we don't buy. There's a message in that. Either one, we don't know about it, or two, we know about it. All right, so that with the updates done, let's see where we're at with our drivers. That actually booted a lot faster than I thought it was going to. I thought those updates would take a little longer. Let's right-click on the Start button, and we'll go to the Device Manager. Oh, didn't make any difference, which is what I predicted, because we haven't installed Adrenaline yet. So if we go to the yellow folder down here and we go to the downloads, we should see two things. The drivers here, which we could always go to, but I don't want to unless I have to. I'm going to start here. And let's do the AMD Adrenaline. That's going to be your AMD chipset drivers and your AMD graphics drivers all in one. And that could resolve those 4 items. I don't know. But that's what I'm doing this for. One, I need to do it anyway. And two, I'm curious, will this resolve everything? Or will we still need the drivers from AOOSTAR? We can speculate and say what if all day, but I want to verify with evidence, live on camera, unrehearsed and unedited, what the reality is. Some of you wonder why I'm such a big stickler about mentioning reality versus imagination. If you have ever worked in corporate America in IT, you'll understand it. In IT, you're paid to work. You're not paid to daydream. And you're paid to show progress. You'll be evaluated. Whenever your review is, they're going to look overall how much you did during the last, how much time has passed between your last review and now. And they're going to compare how much you got done compared to your coworkers that you work with. And if you're falling behind everybody else, if you just want to sit there and use your imagination all day to try and fix problems, you will not be fixing as many problems as your coworkers. You may require retraining, or they may let you go. So the more serious you are about the reality, about getting things done with confidence instead of just speculating and guessing. If you have to speculate and guess all day, you probably aren't going to stay there employed very long, because you're in over your head for that job. And it'll be proven to the bosses when they just look at how much you got done compared to your coworkers. This is a very competitive world in the workplace, and you need to earn your spot. And if you do really, really well, that's how you get promoted, and you can become the person that the other techs report to or come to for help, guidance, and training. So it's up to you how dedicated you are to your position and how much pride you have in your work. When you sit at home and you got nothing going on and you just wonder, what if, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. It makes no difference in the real world, and it makes no difference to anybody but you. And that's why, for me, I'm not in that position of staying at home playing around for fun. I do have fun, but I have fun and I get paid for it. That's the difference. So the minute I start humoring this what-if scenario, it's taking me down a path of less productivity, getting less done, and it's a bad habit. At least if you want a career in this business, it's a bad habit. You may not want a career in this business. That's okay. I do. So we're going to have very different opinions on the importance of staying focused on reality. I'm just explaining why. Now, this is putting those drivers in. You'll see another display driver. Once again, this will be a newer version than what we got from Windows Update. That's why it did it again. Because you don't have to worry about just having a driver. But you want to have the latest driver if possible for the best performance, reliability, and security. And they're free. The only reason you're not doing it is either you don't know or you're too lazy. And the only person it punishes is you. It doesn't punish anybody else. So that's why I'm sharing the information with you, so that you now can make an informed decision. Okay, launch AMD, keep it up to date. Yes, close. All right, well, that loads. Let's look again in the device manager and see what it looks like now. Took care of that. So we actually don't need any drivers from AOOSTAR.
for this Gem12 Max, and I see that as a benefit. Remember when we were working on that other machine the other day and I got stuck? I couldn't figure out, I think it was GMK Tech. They were using Google Drive and their leech limit was met, and we couldn't get the driver. We had to get the driver from a competitor. That's humiliating. The fact that GMK Tech doesn't have enough personal dignity or pride to not be totally humiliated by that is something to keep in mind if you want to buy their products. But in this case, if this were the GMK Tech where we did not need any drivers and we got everything between Windows Update and the AMD Adrenalin, then that would be an irrelevant thing off the table regardless. So for that reason, this rate's higher in my book for just maintenance. It's just easier. I'm going to skip this. And yeah, we're all current and up to date here. So that looks good. That also means, by the way, I know for a fact I can no longer require this adapter because I wasn't sure before when those network drivers loaded, if they loaded from Windows Update, because we still had 4 unknown, missing device manager drivers. But now everything's loaded, so I can plug this into either of these ports back here. And again, my camera keeps getting in the way, but we should see that little icon flashing now instead of staying as a globe, and it'll go solid. We're good. And that should be at 2500 megabits per second. So let's go to the go full screen. You know what? Let's get rid of camera 1 because no matter where I put it, it keeps getting in the way. Okay, so let's go down here to the network icon, right click and go to network and internet settings, Ethernet, and then there's our speed. 2.5 gig, upload and download. Now I'm going to unplug this network cable and plug it into the other network adapter because I don't want to assume. And let's verify it also connects at the same speed. So give that a second to initialize down here. Negotiates top speed. Same thing, network and internet, but we're going to go at Ethernet and scroll down, and it is still connected, negotiated at 2.5 gig. So that's perfect. I'm also curious who makes this network card and who makes the Wi-Fi card. So we go to Device Manager, and we go to Network Adapters, and we can see that the Bluetooth and the Wi-Fi are Intel, and the Ethernet controllers are also Intel. I got no problem with that. So everything's Intel across the board on this AMD system with regards to the network connectivity. What that means is you could load the Intel Driver Assistant to keep updated on those drivers if you wanted to. So you got a combo of AMD and Intel components inside this computer. Best of both worlds. Okay, so I'll do all the benchmarking off camera because it's going to take a while. Like I said, the NVMe benchmarking is up to you and what NVMe you put in there. We did not buy this with the storage. So as a result, if we're providing it, it's only going to work as good as what we put in there. That's on us. We can verify that both both M.2s are Gen 4x4. I'm sure they are, but I'll verify. And then we'll grab those screenshot results of that in Cinebench in quiet mode, Cinebench in balanced mode, and Cinebench in performance mode with the computer in those modes, not Cinebench. And we'll see what the difference is in score and temps. We'll also monitoring the noise. And we'll follow up in a part 2 to share those results with you, as well as address any other questions for people that watch this after it airs live. Leave your questions in the comments. You can always email us. Our email address right here is showcasecreate@gmail.com, and Sable the cat. Oh, she bit me. She's getting bitey. Sable the cat won't bite you. And she will answer your emails. It probably will say meow, meow, purr, purr. But depends what the email is. Also, thank you to Mara, of course, for all the work she does in the background. She actually answers the emails and brings them to my attention when necessary. But she's very technical and very knowledgeable. And in most cases, she can answer your emails without getting me involved, which means you get a response way faster than when everything was on my shoulders. So appreciate all the work that she does. Thank you guys again for supporting us here. We really appreciate you. And we'll probably end up putting this on eBay with the RAM and storage in it. And it's probably going to sell for about somewhere around $800 or $900 because of the RAM and storage. 2 terabytes of fast storage and 32 gigabytes in dual channel RAM is not cheap. And I don't want to sell that stuff off separately. And when the money comes in for what this sells for, we'll use that money to buy another mini PC that we can review. And around the wheel we'll go. That's how we're funding the channel now. And without that, we can clearly turn on the cameras and talk, but putting stuff on the bench costs money unless we get a company sending us items for review. Now, I know Minis Forum has some new computers coming out, and hopefully we'll see more from them. Sometimes we buy the Minis Forum items, sometimes they send them to us. So because Computex just ended, they're still settling back into their offices, and I'm just waiting for that to cool down a little bit before I pile on. Let them have a break and see where we're at with anything they might want to send us for review. Other than that, we will be buying product or reaching out to companies and asking for review samples, but we don't know of any right now. If you do and you'd like to see it reviewed, let us know and we'll reach out to the companies. Some cases companies will send stuff, in some cases they won't. If it's over $500, we probably can't afford to buy it. So some people have talked about these $1,000 and $2,000 and $3,000 mini PCs that we can't afford it. We don't mind even sending the units back when we're done with review. If they send it to us for review and they say, okay, we want it back when you're done, we're fine with that. But if the company's in Asia, it'll cost them more to send it back and they just tell us to keep it. But if it's a $2,000 computer, they also have tight budgets right now, just like you and I do. It's no different for them. And they might say, Carey, you don't have enough viewers to justify the expense of shipping this unit to you when we cannot get it back. So they're not being mean or nasty. It's just the economics don't make any sense. But it never hurts to ask. So if there's a unit that you'd like to see us review and it's over $500, then the best we can do is reach out to the company and see if they'll send a review unit. Sometimes they do. More times than not in this time of 2026 in the economy, 8 out of 10 will say no. But those 2 that say yes make it worth asking. Okay, any final questions? Otherwise, we'll wrap it up. By the way, I have not heard this at all. When I bring it up to my ear, I can hear that fan underneath. I don't hear the fan on top. It's completely silent. It's easy to get into, and I haven't put the rubber feet on it, so I'm probably starving it a little bit. The feet are maybe 2 millimeters, 3 millimeters, the hard plastic feet. So it is getting air. But by putting the rubber feet on, especially those 8 millimeter feet, it'll get much better airflow through it.
I think you broke the cat.
I broke the cat?
You broke her.
She's still on the couch? Maybe she's not feeling good.
Usually when she, she'll hide under the, just lay down on the couch.
She's been like that for like a day. You should poke her with a stick, see if she's still alive. Oh, okay. Well, she needs to get away from people. People are annoying.
Likes you.
No, not apparently. She's not with me. She's like, I like people, some people, but even
Likes
you guys.
You in particular.
But even just a little bit. And then she goes, that's too much, Carey. I need a break. I understand. I wish I could get a break for myself sometimes. Don't agree with that. What's wrong with you? Blackbird says, nice stream. Take care. Peace and blessings. Thank you, Blackbeard. And Bernie, Slavko, Johnny Weld, Paul Connolly. He said, I had another week on a customer site Well, you're just replacing 10-year-old routers, switches, and Wi-Fi. I love doing that. I really do. It seems like he wrote it sarcastically, but I will practically beg for the opportunity to change that old stuff out. For my customers, for the love of all that's holy, please let me upgrade this equipment so you'll stop calling me. I've had one customer, it's probably happened more than once, where they didn't have the budget or whatever, and I go, I'll tell you what, just give me the authorization to replace it. Because I will save money in your future calls, because I put them on a retainer. If they're on a retainer, then it's in my best interest to buy your new router so that you don't call me as much, and I will have more profit. But that's, a special occasion, right? That's just like, and I'm not going to put in anything fancy. I'm just going to put in the bare minimum. That's way better than what they have, and then thank them for letting me do it. So for the love of all that's holy, you'll stop calling me. Every morning we have to unplug the router and plug it back in. Yeah. Well, we need that fixed. We need to buy a new router. Well, we don't have the budget for that. Well, then just keep plugging it back in. And then another employee who they didn't tell calls me and says, we can't get internet this morning. I go, it's because you have to, did you try unplugging the router and plugging it back in? What's a router? Okay, you got to go into this room. Yeah, do you see this blue box or whatever it is, silver box with the blinking? Yeah, okay. Do you see the power plug that goes in there? Take it out. Yeah. Did all the lights go off? Yep. Plug it back in. Okay. Did the lights come back on? Give it a minute. Yep. Go back to your desk. Does the internet work? Yep. Okay, this has been going on in your office for a few months now. You need a new router. They won't authorize the replacement. Just so you know, from that point forward, always try that first. You're always welcome to call me, but you could save some time and try that first. I'm sorry nobody told you. Other people in the office already know this. And it just gets so boring. And oh, why am I getting these support calls over and over and repeating and repeating and repeating? But that is part of what they're paying for in their support package. So if I have an opportunity to just change it out, even I eat the cost, it'll actually save me money. But if they buy it, we can get them something better. Because if I change it out for free, they're getting a bare minimum. We just want the problem to go away. So yeah, I see that as an opportunity that I very much look forward to. I'm finally going to solve this problem once and for all, at least for the next 10 years. All right, guys. I think that'll, oh, Andy says we were dropping frames. It looks like we just had a little hiccup. I missed it, but it was very minor. It shouldn't be doing that anymore. But I appreciate you letting me know. Eichmann said I was handling it carefully, or I thought I was. Oh, referring to his Ethernet adapter. Well, they don't just break apart if they're handled properly. That's very unusual. I can't imagine, and I can't see you handling it to verify that or not, but I can tell you I've never seen one break apart before. Doesn't matter, it is what it is, right? What's done is done. They are very inexpensive. And even if it breaks apart, it'll still work. Just because the little plastic housing comes off doesn't make a difference. But it's okay. They're cheap. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday and what's left of it. I thank you so much for joining us and hanging out with us today and looking at this computer live and unscripted, from unboxing to installing Windows and drivers. I think AOOSTAR is probably one of the better values out there in 2026 for mini PCs with regards to value for the money and the support in driver availability. They just nail it. So far, I think every AOOSTAR but one. See, here's the problem. I can't, this is going to bother me. I'm confusing AOOSTAR and GMK Tech because GMK Tech has a lot of good too. So who makes the, I want to say it's GMK Tech makes the M.2 Pro S, not AOOSTAR. It is GMK Tech. GMK Tech's the mini PC with the green power button on all their units. 80% of what they sell I like, and 20%, like the M.2 Pro S, I'd say avoid it. But AOOSTAR, I guess I owe an apology to, because I don't think there's any AOOSTAR products we've looked at that we don't like. Or if there is one, I can't remember it, which is also a good sign. If I can't remember it, must not have been that traumatic or that big of a deal. But I will say, you know, looking at purchasing a mini PC today, looking for a value, AOOSTAR, GMK Tech to some extent, and of course, Minisforum are always my go-tos. I think Minisforum's having a 6-year anniversary sale, even though they've been around longer than 6 years. I don't know if they incorporated or did something different. I want to take a quick look at that before we wrap it up, because I don't want you to miss out on any good deals. You know, Minisforum doesn't pay me. They never have. So when I'm telling you about specials, it's because I want you to know about it, not because I'm paid to tell you about it. I won't make commission if you buy it or you don't. Minisforum will never know you're my viewer unless you tell them. And while they might appreciate it, they're still not cutting me a check. But I want to say Minisforum is now taking trade-ins. Yeah, they're taking trade-ins to go towards the price of a new computer. I don't have all the details, but it's on their website. So let me take a real quick look. Let's go to Minisforum. They have so much going on right now. And I think their 6th anniversary sales started on Friday, if I'm not mistaken. Let's jump over here. Let's see. 6th anniversary sale. Okay, so these are all the sale prices. This is when? Starts on June 11th, and when does it end? Don't know. Okay. What about the trade-in? Minisforum. You know what? I got to get this keyboard out of my way. Let me grab this other keyboard for the main computer here so I can not have to stretch across the table. Minisforum trade-in. Minisforum offers an official trade-in program that allows you to exchange eligible older mini PCs for credit toward an upgrade. By submitting your device's model and condition on their platform, you can receive up to 80% of its value back in store credit. Your device must be purchased more than 6 months prior to your trade-in application. Device must be purchased more than, I guess they're referring to the device you're trading in. Get an estimate directly through their trade-in page. Once Minisforum receives your hardware, engineers conduct an official inspection to see if it matches your description. You will typically receive an evaluation result and gift card offer within 3 days. 3 days of them receiving it. That's pretty interesting. I've only heard about it. I've not tried it. And right here is Regan. And Regan is a Minisforum employee that does their videos here on YouTube. And this is just 1 minute and 52 seconds long explaining. This just started 9 days ago, by the way. Is your old mini PC sitting at home collecting dust? With the trade-in program, you can receive 80% and reduce e-waste. Okay, where's the link? Learn more about Minisforum traded in Europe and Japan. What about the US? Oh, not available in the United States. They say that they will be supporting more regions soon. So if you're in Europe, and I don't know how many viewers we have in Japan, maybe 1, this is an option for you to consider. And it's just like trading in, like when you buy a new Samsung phone, and they say, oh, do you want to trade in any of your other Samsung devices? And they tell you how to evaluate its condition. You know, if it's level A, level B, level C, level D, they expect you to be honest, but they're gonna verify before they take your word for anything. And assuming you're honest and you agree, then you'll get the credit that they say you're going to get. If you're dishonest, or you don't think something's a big deal, oh, it's just got a big hole in the middle of it. They're like, yeah, that changes it. No, it doesn't. Yes, it does. Then obviously they'll negotiate it upon review. Regardless, they're gonna review it. Whether or not they need to negotiate depends on whether your assessment was correct and accurate. Trade-in for products purchased before December 31st, 2025. Applications are accepted only from direct purchases, and when confirming, you're going to need to provide a receipt or an order screenshot because they don't want to accept stolen goods or counterfeit goods. That's a pretty ingenious way of dealing with the economy, right? I appreciate Minisforum continues to think out of the box with very unique solutions you're not going to find from any other PC manufacturers. And while AOOSTAR is a great company, I really appreciate their products and the people that stand behind them. They're not making this offer. So as far as I know, Minisforum is the only mini PC manufacturer. I don't think Dell does it, or HP, or Lenovo. Samsung does this. But in any event, the more you know. You might want to look into that. When it becomes available in the USA, I'll let you know. But as far as I know, it is not available to USA residents or Canada. But they are saying they intend to offer it. W. Holmes says AOOSTAR and Minisforum are his top choices. Well, there are some good options from GMK Tech. There are some B-Link I can no longer recommend anymore. Their support's gone. The drivers are gone. The whole support website doesn't work right anymore, and then they refuse to admit it. That right there is worse. That's the, like, as far as forgivable offenses go, I can look past things, certain things. I can say, okay, it's not that bad. But the minute the company employees are disrespectful and they want to gaslight and not take any accountability, I don't want to do business with them anymore. And they have the option to turn that around. You know, my decision is based on the way the company is behaving now. If the company changes their behavior and goes back to being the respectable professional organization they once were, I will recommend them again. But that's their choice. And unless things change, I have no reason to change my opinion of them. If I can't recommend it to my clients, I can't recommend it to you. I will not be able to sleep at night. And hopefully B-Link bleeds out enough that they have the motivation to fix what's wrong, or they go out of business. I'm okay either way. Because as far as I'm concerned, as Shark Tank Kevin O'Leary says, they're dead to me. Manufacturers like A-Dreamer, dead to me. Good Tico, dead to me. When you won't support me, when you won't acknowledge my existence, I want nothing to do with you. I return it back to you. You're going to treat me that way, I'm going to treat you the same way. You're not going to answer my emails. You're going to act like I don't exist. When I'm making a purchasing decision, I'm going to act like you don't exist. I'm going to look at all your competitors' products. So I don't buy B-Link anymore. I have no interest in their company any longer. I used to, but they changed. If they change again and return back to being respectable and professional, I'll be more than happy to recommend them again. However, I'm not holding my breath. Other companies are not behaving that way, and B-Link isn't making anything they're not making. So why would you do that to yourself? We love our friends over at Nemo that make those laptops, very discounted, well-built, and wonderful support. You know, to me, companies like Wish, you remember Wish.com? What happened to it? This is what happens when you sell crap and then you abandon the customers. You can make a little bit of money for a little bit of time. You can make a lot of money for a little bit of time. You remember Wish had a Super Bowl advertisement a couple of years ago. $1 million for a Super Bowl ad. Where are they today? That's not a sustainable business model. You can collect a lot of money and rip everybody off and vanish. It's like robbing a bank. But then how are you going to rob another bank? They already know you exist. They already know to watch out for you. So best to not engage in any business arrangement with those companies as a consumer or any other business to business. They'll take you right down with them. It's all greed, and I cannot abide by that. So I want you to be aware of it. Also, you know, AliExpress. If you want to buy from AliExpress, don't expect to get any support. You will pay less for it. And when it breaks, you'll have a paperweight. So as long as you're okay with that condition, I am fine with, you know, buy what you want. But I wouldn't sell that to my customer and have that reflect on me. Nope. So it's not personal. It's just I expect everybody to play by the same rules. And if you're not going to play by the same rules, I don't want to play with you. And since this game I'm playing involves my ability to have a roof over my head and be able to eat, the consequences of losing are severe. So there's a lot at risk here if we're not careful. And if I'm not careful for those reasons, I feel like it's a very reasonable concern. Anybody making a purchase of a computer or, you know, several hundred or $1,000 should not be doing that on an impulse buy without understanding your consequences. Unless you've got a lot more money than most of us and you wouldn't miss it if it's gone and just buy another one. But I'm assuming the number of people who can afford to do that are fewer and fewer, especially now. And things are pretty tight for all of us, generally speaking. But there's still good value to be had. So we're just separating the wheat from the chaff here and sorting out piles. And so far, to AOOSTAR's credit, they're a little gem. See what I did there? They're a little gem. It's not a household name. I don't even know how to pronounce that name. AOOSTAR? I don't even know. So it's definitely not a household name. But it's a great value because it's not a household name. If this said Sony on it, it would be twice as much money. All right, guys. Thank you guys for joining me today. Mark Leibowitz says, NAS Compares keeps talking about B-Link's NAS products. I'm not sure why. I've experienced B-Link support firsthand. Never left me high and dry, but unless the unit was DOA, they didn't do much for me. I can't speak for the B-Link NAS products because they're hobbyist products. They don't have an operating system. But, you know, depending on your technical ability and what your priorities are, just because we don't like the same thing or what I demand versus what NAS Compares demands, we're in two different lines of work. So, you know, he's welcome to his opinion. I like the guy. I don't always agree with him. It doesn't mean I don't like him. He's got his reasons. I've got mine. But if I were to go to B-Link's website to download some drivers, the website's broken. I don't know that you would be downloading drivers for a NAS, so I don't know what support would be on a NAS. I mean, the main reason I buy Synology for my NAS is I get support from Synology for the operating system. It's critical. But if I'm responsible for my own operating system, then the support's on me. What else do you need support for? Maybe just warranty if the device breaks? So I'm not sure that's a great example in this case, Mark. If you have a B-Link mini PC and you're trying to put Windows on it and you've got no drivers, the website doesn't work. What do? You have to go to their competitors and download a similar set of drivers, which I think is humiliating. And that wasn't that way. B-Link used to be sort of the leader. And then I was introduced to Minis Forum, and then it was kind of neck and neck, and now Minis Forum's wiping the floor with them. In fact, Ace Magic and Camrui, two of the cheapest, budget, inexpensive, very sort of stripped down mini PCs that you could buy on the market today that are still worth buying, in my opinion, still wipe the floor with B-Link by comparison. But that's not how it used to be. And I don't know why. Just stopped caring, or they ran out of money? I don't know. There's got to be a reason. Not my fault. I'm just calling it as I see it. And Andy mentions Wowie, Triku, Peloton. These are all very good choices. We've had very good experience with Wowie, Triku, and Peloton as well. We don't see as much variety and as much new product from them, which is why we're not seeing more of their mini PCs, because they don't offer anymore. I mean, for the most part, if there's one we're missing, you know, around the $500 price point from Wowie, Triku, Peloton, etc., please let us know. Andy says, hardware warranty since there's no operating system. Yeah, that's all you're getting is a hardware warranty. They can't help you with whatever operating system. You put TrueNAS on there, that's on you. Zima OS, whoa. Zima OS, Unraid, Proxmox, Open Media Vault, blah, 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 blah. That's on you. They don't have any control over that. So they wash their hands of it. Mark Leibowitz said he hasn't bought a product from B-Link since December. Yeah, it makes me sad. I'm not happy to announce that. I had no ill will towards B-Link, so I don't know why they betrayed me. It feels like betrayal. What did I do? As a result, I'm reacting to what I feel is betrayal. And I want to warn everybody about it so you don't get burned. But ultimately, I'm not here to make the decisions for you. I'm here to give you the information for you to make an informed decision that's right for you. And have expectations set accordingly. Andy mentions Amazon Prime Days are coming soon. Yes, this is true. Let me mention that real quick and then we'll wrap it up. If you go to Amazon.com and you're a member, an Amazon Prime member, the first thing it's going to say is, hey, be ready for Amazon Prime. I think it starts, let's see, when is Amazon Prime Day? June 23rd to June 26th. So it's what day is June 23rd? Is that a Friday? Oh, it's a Tuesday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So just that week, starting on Tuesday, ending at midnight Pacific time Friday, June 26th. Say that's 4 days. Oh, it's not midnight. It's 11:59 p.m. Friday night. Because if it was midnight, that would be Thursday night. But it's midnight. It's 11:59 p.m. rather, Friday. So it runs 4 days: Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. If you're an Amazon Prime member, there may be some good deals. I've lately not been impressed with the Amazon Prime deals. If you look at Camel, if any product you're considering buying on Prime Day, just to verify if that really is the cheapest price. Because I've been buying throughout the year and getting great prices. And then when Prime Day comes along, it sort of matches what I paid 4 months ago. So I've seen Amazon and the individual sellers raise their prices the week before Prime Day. Then they put it back to the price it is now and say it's on sale. They all don't do it, but enough do it that you should. If I were you, I would double check the price against Camel and see if it's really on sale. I kind of feel like that should be illegal, but it isn't. All right, once again, thank you for hanging out with me today. Thank you for your memberships, your support, your friendship. And we'll look forward to seeing the members tomorrow on our members-only Monday videos. And we'll be back on our regularly scheduled program Wednesday. Because this is the last mini PC we have to do an unboxing of, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday will all be part 2s of this unit. We have a couple GMK techs over there and Boz Game. There's a few others we need to do a part 2 on to follow up. Then we can decide if it's a thumbs up or thumbs down. And we've got also that Ace Magic N3A NAS device, which I don't expect to hear anything back from them until next week. See what they've got to say. I think the unit I've got is defective, but it's possible I'm not doing something right. So I'm not gonna, chomp at the bit to get a solution to that. I'm gonna take my time and be patient, make sure we give them time to respond, see what their response is, and follow their recommendation. Once all that's done, we'll follow up on it. So the jury's still out on that. That should buy us another week and a half, 2 weeks of content, and then we'll run out of that. We may have some new items coming in between now and then, or we may not. I really don't know. After that, you know, we may be revisiting KVMs. I mean, Cypede is coming out with a brand new KVM, and once again, they are kicking GLINet's butt. GLInet is making a little round a little round KVM for about $100, and it's on Kickstarter now. Cypede is making the exact same thing at half the size and half the price, and it'll be available on Kickstarter any day now. So you can go on Kickstarter to follow it if you want to be one of the first. It starts at $49. So I'll be getting at least one of each because I'm curious, but it probably won't be till fall before we'll see anything arrive in the mail. But the price can't be beat. And nothing against GLInet. If Cypede did not exist to kick their ass, I would think GLInet's great. Okay? But Cypede keeps selling a smaller, lighter, cheaper device that's just as capable, if not more capable, than GLInet. I don't mean to beat up on them. And I'll bet you we'll get the Cypede unit faster. We'll get that in the mail first, even though we haven't even ordered it yet, because GLInet just does things differently, which I wouldn't know any better of if I didn't have Cypede to compare it to. But I don't dislike them. I just think there's no value there compared to Cypede. In fact, if I come over here to Kickstarter, whoops. Bring up Kickstarter here. Then I'll wrap up the show. Let's type KVM, see what comes up. So the Nano KVM Go, all right, is half the size and half the price of the GLInet Comet Q. Now this Kickstarter has not launched yet. You can click this button to be notified. Starts at $49. Now by comparison, GLInet already started their Kickstarter, which should be in here somewhere. See, this is the Comet Pro. They have the Comet Pro, and what theirs is called is a Comet Q. There it is. This is twice as big and twice as much money. There are 17 days left to back this, and it starts at what price? I'm looking for the pricing. Here we go. Make a pledge. One Comet Q is $89. They want to sell it at MSRP at $130. So if you buy it, if you reserve it now, you pledge $89. And it looks like they have plenty of units left, over 500 available at that price. Then this, you'll get 2 Comet Qs for $169, 3 Comet Qs for $246, 5 Comet Qs for $396. That's probably the limit. And they still have plenty left. There's a limited quantity at that price. The early bird special was just $69. I think that's sold out. Yeah, that already sold out at that price. The estimated delivery is in August. So what I'm getting at, and this is the other thing GLInet is doing, if you pay for being part of their VIP status, like a Costco membership, then you can still get it for $69 because you would have been able to back it before anybody else could. And then the price of your membership to their backer club, the $69, includes a free Comet Q. So the backer club is free in this example if you use it that way. So anyway, it's an interesting marketing tactic, but Cypede's a little bit more honest in my opinion. So I am biased because I like to save money and have a better, smaller device that's more flexible, that may even come out sooner. This is what I'm curious about. Even though you can't even order this yet, I'll bet you when you can, we'll get this in the mail before we get the GLInet. because that's what keeps happening. So I expect it to happen again. And that's one cable. Assuming your USB-C port will support video output, you just need one cable and you're done. Sign me up. Yes, please. I'll see what the options are when it becomes available, because if it says it starts at $49, then my question is, well, what do you get for more money? So maybe I'll order more than one version. I have to see what the options are. So we'll talk about that, since we'll be running out of mini PCs and other devices to review. That's still, you know, a couple months away. In the meantime, we'll wait and see what comes in and what's going on with PC world and RAM and SSD prices. That could change between now and then. I don't think it will, but it could. And with that, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll look forward to seeing the members tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.